15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. 15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. Fuck yeah! Stay metal, my brother.
Alright, we're already fucking shit up. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 10 of 15 Beers. I feel like I've been a fucking slacker this week, so I put things together very late. So we're going with drummers, because I can talk to drummers all the time. They're easy. I want to do a Guitar Wizard show at some point, but I don't know what the fuck to talk to Guitar Wizards about. So, and I wanted to show this video as part of the show. My friend Paul Flans, hopefully he's watching, got me through. There's a site called Cameo where you can get celebrities to do promos for you. And he sent me this last week, and it's the best thing. I think you're just going to be able to hear the audio because I can't show you the video. But this is Max Cavalera from Sepultura and Soulfly, and this is probably the best thing I've ever seen.
What's up, Kevin Sharp, Max Cavalera here, Soulfly, Arizona, Quarantine Edition. Hope you're doing good, brother. I know you have a killer podcast called 15 Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. That sounds about right. That sounds metal as fuck. And I just wanted to congratulate you on a podcast. And keep playing metal, doing some cool interviews. And I got my fucking speed guitar right here right now. I'm going to do a little riff for your podcast, Kevin. Goes like this. That's actually Helmet. Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. 15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. Fuck yeah! Stay metal, my brother. I'll see you on tour. Stay safe. Much love and respect. Max Cavalera. Soulfly.
That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't know. Maybe someone else has seen something better, but I don't believe you. All right. How's it sound? How's the audio? Everyone hear what we're doing here? We got like 3 people watching. Excuse me. I have the phone going directly into the audio box. So every now and then you get some weird like electromagnetic static energy, but aside from that, I think it should be clear. So let's give Jeremy Boniello a call, huh? Thanks, Dustin. We'll see. Sometimes when the phone gets going, it gets a little weird here.
Yo, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
All right, cool. I'm trying. I'm having
okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I have this weird thing where I've been just miking the phone on speaker. But it hasn't been like consistent. So now I just have it going straight into like the audio box that goes into the computer itself.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like I don't know if it's like a car driving by or if there's like one, either my laptop or something puts out like some electric current. Every now and then I get this like weird fuzz for a little while.
And that's still happening, or
not right now for some reason.
Okay.
Like I think it depended on where. Like I have the audio box underneath a little desk that I have here. So I don't know. I think maybe if the phone is too close to that or something, maybe that's how it happens. I don't know.
Oh, that could be one of those like electrical interference things with the RF frequencies. How that happens sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have your phone too close to a speaker or something?
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But it doesn't seem to like have direct correlation. Sometimes I can have it up near it and it doesn't do it. Sometimes it'll be kind of close and it does. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like this is all like kind of like witchcraft,
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I feel like every time I think I understand something with this like electronics recording stuff, it all gets fucked up and I have to relearn, something else.
Totally. Yeah, I know. That's like how it always is. It's always like a learning process, always learning something new every time, a new update or...
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
So how are you doing? Have you been working throughout this?
I just started working again at the shop, at the welding shop. like not last week, but the week before. Well, it was like half a week. I went in on Thursday,
Okay.
so not last week, but the week before. And I worked all last week, and I'm working all this week. But while I was off of work, like out of the shop, just because we just didn't have anything together, for COVID, and everybody was kind of bugging out
Yeah.
about everything. So we just kind of all stepped away for a little while. And in that time, I started doing some landscaping with a friend of mine
Okay, right on. So yeah,
that owns her own company. So yeah, I've been doing that like once a week now since I'm back at the shop.
Okay, cool. How do you like that compared to the
Also,
welding being outside?
say it again.
How do you like that compared to the welding? Is it nice to get outside a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good change of pace too, because it's like welding is so precise. It takes so much of my mental attention.
Yeah, yeah, right on.
Doing like 8 hours of that or whatever, 6 hours, 10 hours. It just gets very taxing mentally, especially in the heat and everything.
Yeah.
But when it's physical labor, like digging holes and hauling mulch and weeding and stuff like that, that's just super mindless for me. I can just zone out and do that, and the heat doesn't really bother me so much at that point. So yeah, it's
Nice.
as long as I drink enough water and stuff.
There
Yeah,
you go.
no, it's a good balance for sure.
How have you been doing? Well, you have your own studio, right, in New Paltz as well. Have you
Yep,
been
yep.
doing a lot of work recording stuff during this? A lot of creative output?
Just my own stuff. Yeah, and well, actually with Blue Museum too, Mike Hollis and I, we've been writing a lot, and we've got a Google Drive going of just all of our song ideas and
Nice. Yeah,
and
have you
everything
been?
that we're both contributing.
Are you doing that like separately? You're just like emailing each other stuff and working on each other's stuff apart, or have you been like getting together and playing?
Now, the only time we got together was to do live stream for WDST Sofa Sessions.
Okay.
We did that like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, like a month ago, maybe something like that at this point. But yeah, no, everything we've done as far as writing has just been on our own, and then we, upload it to Dropbox or whatever.
Gotcha.
I've been kind of just going crazy and having fun with just exploring all the ideas that I can, but then leaving space open for Mike's input. That's kind of how
that's great.
I like working. Yeah. So yeah, we've got a lot of material now, and maybe for 2 more albums. I mean, we were looking at just doing, trying to get material for 1 album, but it seems like we've got so much now, we might just have 2 in the works, and or who knows? I don't know. I don't know what the ideas are, but other than that, yeah, just my own stuff randomly. But
I wonder if that's how it's going to be. Just like once this ends, everyone's going to have so much fucking material that because so many people have been cooped up just producing stuff. That there's going to be just
of course. I know it's beautiful. It's a blessing and a curse in that way.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody finally has time to be forced to be bored and be creative, or not be forced, but finally have the time to be creative. I actually have taken the time I've kind of stepped away from music a little bit, like as far as just the frequency of the amount of music I was playing. I was playing in so many bands with the Arctones and with Blue Museum and with NCM and my brother's music and my own music.
Rucombine, right?
Yeah, Rucombine had kind of already slowed down a little bit just because we our keyboard player moved to Florida, and we've kind of had a little bit of a direction, a disagreement on kind of how we want to, what sort of direction we want to go in, which is normal, but that happens.
I played a song in the beginning from the CD. I think you produced that album too, right? You recorded that yourself?
I did, yeah.
It sounds really, really good.
Cool. Thanks, man. I mean, every time I hear something that I produced, and I'm sure other producers can or maybe will be reluctant to admit this, but I always feel like there's something I could have done differently. Every time I re-listen to something, I'm like, oh man, I should have done this differently. I should have whatever. But that's part of it. It's just you just got to do it, and kind of captures that moment in time.
I'm having a little bit of trouble. I'm trying to do this Bruce Springsteen cover, and I have the music pretty much done. I'm using like Studio One is my like the DAW or whatever that I'm using. And now I'm to the vocals, you know, and I'm not very confident in my vocals to begin with, but it's just like I do it, and I'm like, I do it until I'm exhausted. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Or that's pretty good. And I listen to it the next day. I'm like, no, that's terrible. And it's like, I don't think I'm ever going to get to a point where I don't think I could potentially do it better. So I don't know when to just like be like, fuck it, this is it. You know, like I almost need someone else to tell me that. Otherwise, I'm just never going to, you know, finish it.
Well, yeah. I mean, so one thing to keep in mind is, you know, it's like for me anyway, when I'm demoing my own music, is like I try to really come to terms with what my abilities are just in that moment. Not even like saying that I lack the ability to record something of quality. It's just that like when you're doing all of the work and you're trying to see the vision and you're trying to do, you know, perform and you're trying to do everything, you kind of it tends to like just naturally lose its quality because you're focusing on so many different things.
Yeah,
you know?
I can see that.
And also it's like I try to really treat my like what I can do just with what it is, you know, that I'm capable of doing with what I have. Like basically I don't have the full-on professional gear that I would need to get my songs to sound exactly the way that I want them to sound. But you know, I'll try to get there within reason with what I do have in that kind of way. So
I feel like some of the stuff that I've heard you do is pretty fucking amazing. You know, or the sounds great to me.
Cool.
What do you think the level is? Like, it's just different mixing boards, or like what puts you up into that next level of?
I honestly, what I really think it is it's not necessarily quality. That's one thing that I found is like the only thing that quality gets you as far as like more expensive just preamps and stuff like that. The only thing that's going to get you is that when you start to stack things, when you start to layer, you know, by the time you've got 5 guitars, that first guitar that you layered isn't now way buried down in the mix. If you use really good equipment, you still have control over every single one of those layers, and you can make it pop, or you can hide it a little bit. Once you start to decrease your quality, that's something that I've noticed, is that you just have to kind of account for the loss of dynamic range or acoustic definition based on the quality of your input source, or not your input source, but like your preamp and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So ultimately, you know, if you don't have superior quality stuff, I would focus more on production. You know, if you really listen to stuff that you're interested in and you're influenced by, or even if it's not music you are that you really listen to day to day, but that you really like the sound of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really just got to hone in on what it is that sound is. Like what is actually happening here? You know, how long is that vocal reverb? How long is the slapback on the snare drum, or any of those things? And you really just take those things into account, and you really build it like a kind of like a chemistry project, where it's like there's a certain formula to get a certain kind of sound, and when you can figure out what that formula is, you know. So that's if my stuff sounds good, I can only really just attest to the fact that I really just try to listen as best as I can to things, and I really try to serve the music and just like serve the vision of the overall song in that way. So and that also keeps you out of a box too, you know. It's like you're not, if you're used to working with, you know, solo acoustic artists, and you use that concept, you could then take that to the 7-piece funk band. Sorry, I got a motorcycle. A couple motorcycles driving by here, but anyway, sorry, I get really intense with this passionate.
No, absolutely. I mean, I love it. That's great
discussion. Yeah, it's so interesting. It's really incredible because it really is endless. And I mean, the thing about the more, like I said, about the more expensive gear is you just have more control over everything as the process goes further and further along. You can get those little things to pop out a little bit more and stand out. But you know, we all have heard really incredible 4-track tape recordings before, you know, of people
Absolutely.
just doing their stuff in there. And with the whole, I mean, I'm not necessarily a fan, but you know, there's that whole resurgence of that pop, do-it-yourself pop music, like what's that girl that's just come out now recently, who her and her brother just won a couple of Grammys.
I'm out of the loop, man. But do it yourself, they're like, what are they? They're recording on like 4-track kind of stuff?
No, well, they're just recording like in their house, in their bedroom.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They're not in a big, giant, you know, professional studio.
Well, it's so accessible now. I mean, for $100, you know, you can get an input into your computer, or you probably do it for less than that, even, you know. And you know, definitely the doorway to get started is pretty easy to access, you know.
Yeah. No, it is really incredible. Yeah. It's
How long have you been doing the recording stuff for?
Well, I kind of have a little bit of a background. My uncle is a musician, and he owned an old like Roland portable 8-track that was or it was a 4-track, but it was recorded to zip discs.
Okay.
And that was like back in the 90s, probably 1996 or 7 or something like that. And
Okay.
he came to our house and he recorded my father's music. And so that was my first real introduction to seeing like microphones being set up and levels being taken and all that kind of stuff. I had already been playing music since a little bit before that, but
were drums your first instrument?
Yeah, drums. Yep, drums are my first instrument.
What made you decide to go that route? Like what stood out to you? Do you see a particular drummer?
Oh man, well, my brothers play other instruments. My brothers are really incredible, like wind instrumentalists, and they can play bass and guitar and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I remember being in my brother's in the elementary school at my brother's like practice. They were little kids, in I don't know, it was probably first or second grade. Whenever you first start your instruments. And I remember I had to stay after school and wait for our mother to come pick us up, and I had to go to that rehearsal, and there was a bass drum kind of off to the side, and when they started playing, it was just like the most incredible thing I've ever experienced, you know, at that time in my life. And something just hit me. It was like I really wanted to play the drums, and then it also seemed like there were songs that I had heard on the radio and stuff that my parents listened to, and drumming just seemed like intuitive to me. Like before I ever even had a chance to sit behind a drum set, it always felt like I knew what the drums were going to be playing. Like I could tell when snare was going to get hit. I could tell when fills were coming and the cymbal was going to crash. Like it just was very intuitive to me in that way. And then my parents basically tried to convince me to not play the drums. They wanted me to play everything else except for the drums. And then it finally just came down to it. You know, it was like either they were going to let me play the drums or I wasn't going to play music at all. And eventually, you know, they turned around, they supported me, and then they bought me a drum set when I was like 13 or something. And
right on.
Yeah, so they've definitely supported me since then, you know, but I kind of have had to fight for it my whole life, basically.
As far as how so? What do you mean?
Well, like that example, as far as
so they tried to push you to something
really
else,
knowing like this is what I want, and my parents are just like, no, try this, and then eventually getting to the fact that like this is what I am gonna play. I'm gonna play the drums. So I played the drums. Then when I was 18, I got a chance to go on tour. And I had just graduated high school, and my parents thought I should go to college. They just didn't think it was a great idea for me to be going on tour. But they knew the kid that I was going to be going with, and they eventually, you know, were somewhat supportive of that. And then when I decided to move to Oregon to pursue more music endeavors, they weren't too supportive. So it's just been like little steps of the way that I've had to kind of like chisel my own sort of path.
Right on.
And only ultimately then to gain the support and you know, feel like I have that from my parents. So
that makes sense.
It's been a long journey with that, but you know, I don't know.
It's funny at that time too, because it's like, going to college is such a respectable thing, but you can't become a philosophy major, an English major. There's a lot of like degrees you can get that are, financially less viable than actually being a very good drummer.
Yeah, right.
You can make more, as a drummer than you can as a lot of,
Well, I mean, see, I wasn't great in school, like in high school. I wasn't really a good student. I was slack. Like, all I wanted to do was play music.
Yeah.
So it was like either I was going to go to music school, or I was going to, I was also doing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning in high school. That's what I was like specializing in. So I would have gone to some sort of trade school if I didn't go to music school.
Gotcha.
And that just would have set me up just to like get a job,
Yeah.
Just like I saw that path and it totally seemed like doable and viable, but ultimately like I just had to go with my gut, and
yeah, right on.
I decided to go on that tour, and it was amazing. I got robbed in New Orleans at gunpoint.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But
Fucking New Orleans. What year was this?
That was right before Hurricane Sandy. That was 2005. No,
Oh,
sorry, Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, okay.
That was 2005. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was pretty insane. But yeah, no, I mean, I love it though. Music is, I mean,
Yeah.
I love music. I play it as much as I can. Lately, I've been playing more piano and guitar, just because those are super accessible in my house. And
yeah.
To play my drums, I gotta go up in the studio and turn the lights on, and just
which is really like comparatively not that much of a struggle, but
no, it's really not. I
yeah.
mean, of all the years that I didn't even have a place to play the drums, you know what I mean? Like, of all the years that I just wished that I could that I could just be in my parents' basement again, like, and,
yeah, absolutely.
And now I have the space, and it's just I definitely beat myself up sometimes because I don't utilize it every single day. But
that's what I'm trying to figure out, how to like get a good drum sound with this recording situation I have, and try to send some of my friends some loops, just to like, start writing together, like with some of my married friends that like we couldn't practice once a week if we wanted to.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of refreshing about this. There are no live shows, so it's like, if you want to create something, you can just create it for, just the sake of itself, not be, how are we ever going to get together to do a show, or how are we, there's none of that really is going to happen anyway. So,
and that's what we need. I think that's actually what we need to get back to as musicians anyway, is
rather than,
we need to get back to, let's just be creative for creation's sake. I mean, we got no other reason than because we are just artists, and that's just it. It's not about how many followers we have and how many live shows we play all, during the year. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about what are our moral values as musicians? How much, do we regard the power that we hold and as
absolutely.
musicians and creative people and all that stuff. And I think that's what this time is kind of getting us back to, is sort of that understanding of those basic things. Is like, let's create, let's figure out new ways of saying these things that we want to say.
Yeah.
And not only that, with everything going on, just with the protests and everything happening,
absolutely.
There's a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of really beautiful human connection happening that we can draw from.
So stuff that you've been writing lately, would you say it's like influenced by, the quarantine or that situation, or any of the climate in the world now, or are you just like focusing on music and getting some like previous thoughts out?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. I'd say some of it has been directly influenced by the quarantine. I mean, I actually took a song that I had intended on, actually, Abby.
Yeah.
So I had kind of intended on writing a song about her, which I couldn't, I was kind of hitting this roadblock there, which ultimately ended up being a blessing for myself, because once this whole thing happened, I was able to kind of reappropriate that idea. And it ended up
write
being
it about
something...
a terrible disease instead.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, writing more about just like my wanting to see my family, and how things are just, there's a lot of contention, but we're all in this together, and we're all.
That is one of the songs you sent me the other day that I didn't respond to you, but I remember that song. It was one of the files that you sent me, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's yeah, so that kind of thing, that's directly influenced, I'd say, by what we're all experiencing right now. That's going to be a Blue Museum song. And
Okay.
then some other stuff like where our older ideas that I finally just got around to actually finishing the lyrics and stuff like that. I wrote a couple new parts, so it was just kind of like tacking up little loose ends and
Yeah, right on.
on things, but also using this opportunity to inspire me, with new ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
So,
but yeah, I'm also trying not to put too much pressure on myself too, because that was one thing in the beginning that I was doing a lot, was beating myself up a lot about not being more productive and not writing more, and I
yeah.
have all this opportunity now and now is my time, but it's like life is happening, shit is happening, and we just got to kind of go with
Yeah,
it and
absolutely.
live and just kind of feel it. We're not like always able to just take everything we're thinking and just put it right out on
Yeah,
paper, and then
absolutely. Yeah, there's
and if
definitely.
if if we can, is that even genuine? I mean, have we given ourselves time to really process our full thoughts and have all
Yeah,
the
I
information,
see what you're saying. I think it's a combination of both. I think there are certain like visceral things that happen, and someone puts out a initial reaction to, it, and it's just beautiful. But 99% of the time, I think processing and digesting is, there's a place for both in art. There's a place for everything in art, really. But
Yeah, well, I mean, because it's important. I mean, they're yeah, exactly what you said. Yeah, they're both equally as important.
yeah,
I'm not trying to downplay
yeah.
anyone. I'm more just
Yeah,
saying that
no. I think it's
we
easier,
shouldn't
or
feel the
yeah,
pressure.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah, yeah.
you like, when was it? It was like last the ending of 2019. Is that when you were like at the height of all your bands?
Um,
Because like
actually,
it seemed like you got to a point where you were like just overwhelmed with playing too much music.
yeah, I'd say that was like right. That was probably just after the tour that we did in April that Lara broke her leg.
Okay, so this is last summer even, where you were kind of feeling overwhelmed with a bunch of bands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This thought actually hit me randomly. I mean, it's so weird because I'm sure you have these moments where you're like kind of asleep, but you're kind of awake, and you just have like these little sort of visions, like manifestation visions, sort of. I don't know. That's kind of
All
how I
right,
put
yeah,
it. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's like I've come up with ideas, I've solved problems, I've like figured things out in this little in between period of like being asleep and being awake.
okay,
And so this was one of those times where I was like kind of coming out of being asleep, and I had just this thought of like, what if I just quit playing music? What would my life be like?
yeah,
Like
okay,
this thought just occurred to me, and I started running through my mind about like all the scenarios of all the time I would have, and like all the commitments that I wouldn't have to fulfill. Like, it's like it I think that's what it was, but it just came
yeah,
to this point that like my life, we get to this. A good quote is, you go from chasing paychecks to chasing deadlines, and that's the whole thing, is like it becomes not even so much about the thing that you're trying to get, or like
yeah,
for
yeah,
me it
yeah,
was the
yeah.
music and the satisfaction. It becomes more about like satisfying just the commitments that I've made, and it's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
longer even just like that enjoyable for me. So
I mean, it does become. I mean, you almost work harder than I've thought this before too. Like, if you just instead of buying a fucking drum set at 15 or whenever you started, you said 13. Or a kid buys a guitar for $300, buy a fucking hot dog cart. And you're gonna have like this giant fast food franchise by the time you're 30.
exactly,
You buy that
exactly.
guitar, you're just gonna. I think the instrument is a more worthwhile journey for a human to take. But if you want just success, or there's like a lot easier ways to do. It's not an easy life by any stretch of the
100%.
imagination.
Exactly. And yeah, that's such a great way to put it. I mean, the way I always like looked at it, and I've found that it's definitely not the right attitude to have, but one sort of attitude that I've had is like, this is music. When you subscribe to this lifestyle, when you say this is what I want to do, you make a pact, you make a choice, and you say, I'm not going to get to celebrate all these holidays with my family and my friends. Like, I'm not going to get to have Christmas all the time. I'm not going to have Thanksgiving. I'm going to have to sacrifice these
I
times
mean,
while everybody's celebrating New Year's Eve, I'm going to be working.
Yeah, definitely
Like
New
it's
Year's Eve, but you shouldn't be playing shows on Thanksgiving or Christmas anyway, man.
no. I
Like,
mean, no, but like I was on tour during Thanksgiving. I mean, actually,
yeah.
we did actually get to come home, but that's because we drove. You were there with us. I mean, we drove all the
Oh
way from
yeah. Oh,
Ohio.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
We
we
did
weren't
miss
there
that
for
Christmas. Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah. There
I
you go.
wasn't there. I wasn't. So that's what I mean.
Yeah,
That's
that's
just one
fair. That's
example
fair.
that we
Okay.
can relate on. But so it's not so much the shows. It's just that we don't always get to have the time. You know,
Yeah.
our nights and weekends are taken up
They are absolutely like
by
personal
rehearsals and
relationships.
gigs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so we have to understand we don't get the same lifestyle. And if you want to make money, you just go get a job, because that's how you're
It's
gonna make
true.
money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, that's the simple solution. Otherwise, you're gonna have
Yeah,
to just
there's
go with the ebbs
there's
and
like the
flows.
whole. It's kind of like half-assing it. It's like, oh well, I want to do almost what I love, but enough to make money. So it's not exactly what I love, but I'm not making as much money as if I just was doing something to make money. Yeah, there's a weird
Yeah, it's
gray
like
area in there. I definitely
if
understand that.
money wasn't an issue, what would you do? Like if
Exactly.
money
Yeah.
wasn't even a thing, what
Yeah,
would you do with your life?
you would probably honestly I think a lot of people would make weirder shit that
Yeah,
was actually more enjoyable to people, that would be almost more successful, because everyone chases whatever they think is going to be successful, and I
yeah,
think
yeah,
almost
exactly.
all the time everyone's wrong about that. So I think a
Yeah,
lot of people, rather than maybe not everyone can come up with like an interesting concept or whatever, but I think a lot of people just doing whatever weirdo shit they would naturally do
yeah.
would be more like relevant, at least, than a lot of stuff that's
Well,
chasing a
now you're
ghost.
tapping into a systemic thing. I mean, now we're talking about the systemic aspect of music keeping us down as a culture and as a society. I mean, what if through music and art, if we weren't so contained in these boxes of what is popular and what is going to make us successful? What if we had the ability to expand our consciousness as human beings? We had the ability to
Okay.
like communicate with each other in such a way that we could understand, we could reach whole new levels of communication. I mean, in Africa, tribes communicate, like you can tell which tribe or which region a person is from based on their drumming dialect, like based on the drumming
Okay.
that they speak, the sounds that they speak on their drum. You can tell what region they're from in Africa.
But isn't
And so,
that almost saying the same thing? Isn't that like, say you're born in that place and you just want to do some weirdo fucking Frank Zappa shit? You're tied to the dialect of drumming that from your area, aren't you? Isn't that
it's
like
true,
a
yeah.
similar thing?
No,
Like,
you're right. Definitely. Yeah, no, there's a lot. I mean, in there, and I guess that's how their system is set up. And I guess
yeah,
there's benefits and drawbacks to all of it. It's
yeah,
like you can communicate a message, but it's hard to break outside of that
yeah,
without
absolutely.
meeting too much criticism and all that kind of
Well, that's
stuff.
what
So
you see some of these people like Frank Zappa, or like there's a bunch of examples. Tom Waits, that just were like, I'm gonna do weird fucking shit, and
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
gonna do it until you catch up with me. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I'm not doing this to, like, I think all of them, like, didn't Frank Zappa play with Hendrix or something? He had like an in the industry, I believe. Like, he didn't just come out like doing that shit out of nowhere. He was doing weird shit, but he was still kind of like accepted, no, in the mainstream.
Zappa, you're talking
Yeah,
about?
not in the mainstream, but
Yeah, yeah.
he wasn't doing like
No, but he's
four
still.
person shows at a fucking coffee shop. He
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
like,
yeah. No, he was able to make a business and a career out of it. I mean, his whole thing was he was influenced by like avant-garde classical composers, people like Edgar
gotcha.
Varese, and like Stravinsky. So those were his main influences. And as a young kid, he was trying to write stuff like that. Like he was trying
Yeah,
to write classical music, and he didn't understand the mechanics of music itself. So he actually had a music teacher that let him just kind of scribble out dots and stuff on a page and then present it to his class,
yeah,
and then
okay,
try to have the class play what he had scribbled out. So
huh?
it kind of gave him the opportunity to kind of have like an immediate, like input or
Yeah,
sort of representation of what he was doing, so he could learn that way. And then he basically taught himself, went to the library, and learned how to write music through books and stuff.
Huh.
And so I'd say that the music that he wrote was influenced by like 50s rhythm and blues and doo-wop music, 40s and 50s, 60s, that kind of early rhythm and blues doo-wop, like American folk music. He considers that American folk music.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then he's influenced basically. So if you could have the missing link between, say, like the Coasters and Edgar Varese or Stravinsky,
Gotcha.
that's some Zappa would meet somewhere in the middle
right
of that. Like so I'd say like even though we hit to a person that's not like versed in his musical language, he is still influenced by people that were, I don't know, that are accessible to us, I guess, in that way.
When you start doing your own songs, like say you're going to record, you have an idea. What instrument do you start with?
I usually start with the guitar, acoustic guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually start with that.
As far as writing or as far as recording?
As far as recording, yeah, usually when I'm ready to record,
okay,
I'll try to lay down that first acoustic guitar track
with a click,
which is basically for me, it's the easiest way for me to set the basic rhythm and then the basic chord structure, and then I can work around that. I know I can direct myself on drums through that guitar track. I can highlight basic things, and it's all bar chords. It's not anything spectacular. It's just all basic.
And then do you usually keep that first guitar track, or that usually gets? It's just
depends.
A blueprint.
Yeah. If it ends up working rhythmically as something that I've played off of in the rest of the track, I'll keep it. But if I end up finding like a new rhythm as I've gone through, like if I find that another guitar track that I did is kind of like really pulling that rhythm, then I'll take that one out. I'll do a different acoustic track. But usually I end up keeping it. Yeah, I'd say 90% of the time I end up keeping that track, and I'll just bury it somewhere. But I'll just have it as like a very light kind of jangly
nice
guitar up off into the left-hand side or something.
Right on. Cool.
Yeah.
Are you excited to get out and play shows again, or are you? How you feeling about that?
I am like, I'm about to get some ice cream now. I'm just like,
is that you or me?
No, that's here. I'm walking right down the street. Yeah.
Where are you? Are you in New Paltz?
I'm in Kingston.
I'm
at work. Yeah, I just took a little break from working. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I mean, I'm excited to play shows when I know that everything is all good and nobody's going to be getting sick from all this shit, and and we're all safe. Then I'll be really excited to play shows and stuff. But as of right now, I'm not excited to gather around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A bunch of people. I'm not super eager to get out.
I feel like we're in this weird spot now where a lot of people have just decided that we're over it. Like that they're over it, so it's over. And I guess we'll see how that works out in a couple weeks or whatever. But
I know I think it's a bad mistake.
Yeah.
I feel that too, man. I really feel it. It's hard to be around family. Like my parents came up this weekend and we all hung out. We had a fire. We cooked some food around the fire.
Yeah.
But it's just, and it's really easy because it's our human nature to just be social and be close to each other. And it's just totally, we never would have thought that this was a thing like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy.
That's what, me and Lara had this conversation today, and I was like, I've hung out with her a couple times in her backyard, or and I've been doing deliveries for the Anchor, so I kind of hang out with the people I'm working with. So I don't feel like I've been like socially deprived necessarily. But then I think there are certain people that have just been home by themselves, and it's like if you're in a dark place that you just need to be fucking around people. I get like that's a thing that some people are encountering, and then maybe it's worth, taking a risk as far as, catching a disease just for your own mental health,
Yeah, well, I think at this point, now that we have more information, it seems like you're safe enough that if you are around people and you're concerned whether you might have it or they might have it, it seems like as long as you wear masks
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you're super consistent about like washing your hands or um, uh, using hand sanitizer and all that stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you're just like good about that stuff, you obviously run a lot less of a risk. But like you said, you still have that risk.
Yeah, that's what I've seen some posts. I'm pretty sure Johnny Monster played a show last weekend, or maybe
Oh
this,
yeah, I saw
maybe
that.
it's this upcoming weekend. It's like holy shit, you guys are getting. I think Tennessee, yeah, are just getting
Yeah,
back fucking to it, you
Tennessee.
know.
Yeah, no, they played. I saw pictures.
And it must be nuts because it's like you and
It was outdoor though,
oh, okay.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Because I think
So that was
you
a
and me
little
have
bit.
played a bunch of shows where I'm not a stranger to playing shows where there's only 5 people, so we can still be under 10 with the band and the bartenders a lot of times.
Yeah,
But because there haven't been shows, I think a lot of people are going to be having bigger crowds because that's the first band to play, or there's an
totally.
opportunity
Yeah,
where
no,
it's
for
like,
sure.
and yeah,
And that's the other thing too is I'm kind of honestly concerned about the amount of competition that's going to happen once the music does start, uh, because venues have been out. They're going to
yeah,
want to get the backs that have the most drawing
yeah.
power.
But well,
They're going to
and
want to.
theoretically though, they're not going to be allowed to have full capacity. But who's going to police that? It's like it's almost ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like
no, it's true. I mean, yeah, it's like I would think that like people like that run the local venues around us would have the foresight to say, to
yeah.
like restrict that. I think you're right about
I think
that.
we have a pretty responsible, the venues in the Hudson Valley at least are pretty. Yeah, most of them are pretty responsible. I can see that. But like at a
Yeah.
Snug show, like if Snugs were to open, are they gonna cap the door? Or I don't know, like 1 in the
I don't.
morning once people are
Yeah.
drunk. That seems like like snappers. They're
Yeah. I
because
just
they
don't
would be
see how
phase.
those kind of places could really open. I just don't.
Yeah, I think that they're both phase 3, which are like theoretically the end of June if everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could, but
Yeah. I
it's like
mean, and that's
either
the
one
whole
of those
thing. Is,
places at a lower capacity is almost ridiculous because who's gonna fucking enforce that? Like there's no, I don't know.
yeah. Well,
It's
they have to meet that criteria to
yeah,
to get to phase 3. So if they meet it, then by all means, But that's the other thing though is that we've got to then just trust that the reporting is anyway. It
yeah,
just goes
exactly.
layers and
Yeah, it
layers.
does
This is like
absolutely.
I don't know. The best thing we can do is just focus on what we're doing. Just
Yeah. And speaking of which, so you've been doing a bunch of your solo songs. Are you releasing them in any format, or what do you're just keeping them in your pocket for?
yeah, I don't know, man. My music right now is a lot of it's just my own sort of
It's like a
mental health.
personal, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just like my own therapy. I don't really have plans to release that stuff as a solo stuff,
Okay.
as a solo project.
Yeah.
Most of it, like I said, like I think 3 of them, like "Room to Breathe," that song I sent you, 10 years in the making. Um, and I think the one other one that's about the quarantine. I think those are all gonna be Blue Museum songs.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and then the other ones they're just kind of
And
I'm just
Blue Museum at this point is just you and Mike Hollis?
Mike Hollis, me, and my brother Josh.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. So
Josh is
3
playing
songwriters in
bass.
one. All right. Right, cuz
Yeah,
he
so
writes as well. Cool.
Josh is gonna be he's gonna be yeah throwing down on songs also. Yeah,
Nice. That's great. That's cool.
yeah.
Nice.
So
All right, man. Well,
yeah,
it's
man.
been fucking great talking to you. I
You too,
appreciate it.
man. Always.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
been a minute.
It has.
But yeah, let me know anytime you got any questions about studio stuff, or
Yeah, definitely.
if you even want to record, like come and use my studio and my gear
Yeah.
to record some drums.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah,
fine
I
with that
appreciate
too.
that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I may take you up on that.
cool.
All right,
Sounds
Jeremy.
good, man.
Love you, man.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later, bud.
All right, peace.
There we have Jeremy from Blue Museum. Also plays drums for NCM, Lara Hope and New York Tones. I took a week off. I did get drunk on the week off, so I shouldn't be out of practice, but I feel like I'm a little boozy. We're going to play a Blue Museum song. Throw some shit on the ground. Let's message Katie Carter here. All right. All right, we're back. Do you hear me texting over? I'm doing my phone directly into the box, but I think you can hear me like tick, 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 texting when I'm trying to send messages to people to tell them I'm about ready. Working out the kinks. 10 episodes, you think? I mean, I guess it's the problem with the booze. Is that you get drunk and then I forget all the things that I learned. All right, we're getting there. Hold your horses. Boom.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Katie Carter?
Hey, Betty.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
I get some weird. Can you hear me all right? I get some weird like electromagnetic static every now and then, and I feel like this.
Oh no.
Ah!
You kind of sound like far away a little bit, but
Yeah, I think it's like once this stops, it'll get better. Hold on one second.
okay.
Here. It's like I'm like an infant, so I'm like, if I put it behind my back, that makes it all better. But it does. I don't know. I don't think I understand how things work. Is my
Hey, it's
problem.
okay.
Yeah.
Got to give it a good shot.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
I haven't seen you
life
in a while.
I know. When was the last time? Was it at Muddy Roots or was it at Heavy Rebel?
Maybe. I would say Heavy Rebel. You were at Heavy Rebel last year?
Yeah, we went to Heavy Rebel. You weren't there, were you?
No, I was. So it must have been then.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know. It's always a little bit of a blur. And you're in Virginia right now, right? Or somewhere in the South?
Yeah, we're down near Roanoke. Yeah.
So what have
It's,
you how have you been during these crazy times? You've been
Well, I mean, luckily my job was fine, honestly, through this. Like, we were able to stay open. Virginia ended up, like, not doing a total shutdown.
okay.
So, my business was not personally affected.
And
and we
you
had,
said
like,
you're doing some kind of like seamstress thing or something, right?
I'm sorry, say that again?
And you're doing some kind of sewing business?
Yeah, I'm a seamstress for an ultralight hiking company.
Oh,
it's
fuck
like,
yeah.
Because we're in the heart of Appalachian,
Yeah.
the Appalachian Trails here, and, like, it's pretty rad. I mean, like,
Yeah, it sounds great.
I really like my job, honestly. Like, it's super cool making tents and shelters.
Oh,
and
fuck yeah, that's
tarps
awesome.
and, yeah, dude, it's so sick. Like, I'm thrilled with it. And then, like, I get to listen to audiobooks all day. So, like,
Oh,
today I
nice.
was listening. Dude, I'm like listening to Jurassic Park right now, and it's awesome.
The audiobook Jurassic Park. Fuck yeah, that's
Dude,
great.
it's so good. Like, it's so good.
How quick? What's an average audiobook? How many hours? Like, are you going through like a book a day, a book every 2 days?
It depends. I mean, like, the first one I ever listened to was It from Stephen King, and that thing was like
It's fucking
50
long.
hours long.
Yeah,
So
Jesus.
that took me a couple weeks, but
All right.
you know, I'm listening to like 7 hours a day. So I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
That's
kinda
the interesting thing
skills
with
through.
like podcasts. Like Stacy will go through like, she'll go through 10 hours of podcasts a day, and she has a thing where she speeds it up. So if they talk slow, it like it goes quicker for her. So she's actually listening to 8 hours of podcast in 7 hours or some shit like that. I don't know. It's kind of bananas.
Dude, I used to listen to podcasts like that too, and then I got on the Audible train, and I'm in love with it because I've been able, like, I just fall asleep really quick when I'm like reading. So
Okay, yeah,
all these books that I'm listening
nice.
to are books that I know I'll never read.
That's awesome.
I just can't stay awake. But,
and Audible is what you use for that?
Audible is Audible. Is that what you said?
Audible is that's the service that you use for for all the audio stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, dude, it's
How about music?
soon.
Have you guys been playing? Like, Virginia's not doing shows yet, right?
Yeah, we're not doing no like live music. I mean, some places are doing live music. It just depends. Like, there's one of our favorite places to play in Roanoke is called well, actually, technically it's Salem, but it's called Parkway Brewing, and
Gotcha.
they're rad. Like, they treat bands really good, and they have like a nice stage, they have lights, like the sound system's pretty decent, and like they're just fun to work with. But they're starting to do some live shows, but I know it's like you can only have a certain amount of people in there, so
Gotcha,
it's not the same. And like we haven't wanted to start playing live music yet because we honestly don't feel totally comfortable.
Yeah, that
with,
makes sense.
Like the whole situation yet, but yeah, I mean, like we've just been working at our house, and like fixing up a bathroom,
getting all the shit
like
done.
We're doing kind of the domestic life and like just kind of hunkering down and working. But we are going to pre-record a set for Heavy Rebel.
Nice.
And
nice.
Yeah, we're stoked about that. Like I miss music more than I could even say. I mean, like, it's crazy. Like, once we get done with some of these like projects that we're doing at home and whatnot, then that's when it's like, yeah, we're gonna start doing all sorts of music stuff again.
Yeah,
and like we
stuff.
just have a lot of things that we got to finish up real quick, but we're almost there. A couple weeks away, really.
Did you have a lot of stuff booked? Like, when this happened, did you have to cancel a lot of stuff? How'd that work out?
Yeah, dude. We had played. It was March 14th. It was like the free St. Patty's Day weekend.
Oh, yeah.
We went up to Charlottesville and played, and it was a killer day. Like, we had 2 shows, but like it was right when all this stuff was starting to get kind of crazy, and like we weren't nervous about it yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like we did that show, and then all the ones after that got canceled. So like, I mean, yeah, we're missing out on some major funds and like tons of shows. But I'm optimistically booking August at certain places.
Gotcha.
And,
yeah.
we'll
if it
just see
doesn't
where
happen,
we're
it
at.
doesn't happen. Is that how it works, kind of?
I'm sorry, say that one
You
more
like
time.
book it and then see what the situation's like in July, and if you have to postpone it or cancel it, at least you have it booked in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't technically, like, gone and, like, written any of these people about the shows, like, being like, well, I'm canceling all of this, but, like, yeah, I'll get in touch with them, like, the week before or, like, a couple weeks before and be like, I think it's safe too soon and nobody's going to be doing anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, yeah, then they, like, it's just all mutual, and we're all hoping that we can get back onto the same page, because we have a lot of really cool places around here that we like to play, and it just is what it is, and it's not like anybody could have seen this coming.
No, absolutely not. I think our last Red Necromancer show was here in Kingston with the goddamn Gallows. I want to say it was like March 9th.
Nice.
And they had been on a long tour, and they were all like coughing, they're all like whatever, like I don't know, kind of diseases these motherfuckers are bringing around, but everyone's still alive, so it worked out all right.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully they just like have the antibodies, and it wasn't even like it.
Scott Allen is watching. He says, "Don't static up Katie Ray Carter." He was upset that my static was interfering with the beginning of your interview.
Other static interference?
No, I don't think so anymore. I don't know. Hopefully not. I don't know. That's the weird thing. I'm kind of an idiot in general, but also with this technology stuff. So if anything is wrong, I can't figure it out until people start posting in the comment thing like, "Hey, fuckface, you're ruining everything." And then I react to that.
We're learning together.
Exactly. Well, that's what I think everyone by the end of this is going to be able to do, really good live streams and good, they're going to know how to record performances really well and all this stuff,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that like Jesse's super into the idea of like like we want to do live stream stuff, but
Yeah.
like he wants it to look really good
Yeah.
and he wants it to like sound like impeccable. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, and so
I don't know if
I
there's
don't
any
know
way to get
exactly.
there without having it sound shitty first. I think you got to fuck your way up
Yeah,
to it. Like,
that's kind of what I was feeling too. It was like I think we just got to go for it, honestly. Like let's just do it. But like that's where, like he has what he wants to do, with
yeah,
like his music, and then like I'm just on board for that. Like I love playing with him. Like it is
Yeah.
seriously one of my favorite things ever. Like, and I've learned so much with drumming, playing with him.
yeah, absolutely.
It's just crazy. Like I'm very, very grateful to have a husband that's like that, that great.
Yeah.
The
And
music is cool.
as a wife, you're having a wife that plays drums like you, I'm sure is a nice boon as well. Like he's.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what made you like? How long have you been playing drums? What made you want to start playing drums? Was there a particular thing you saw? Was it Animal from the Muppets? What's your inspiration to pick up the sticks?
Well, honestly, my inspiration was just like this is years ago now. I mean, like I think I was 20. Yeah, so it's been 13 years, and my ex from ages ago, he just was like he was a bass player and he wanted to have somebody just play. He was like, looks like you can keep a beat just from like me hitting on the steering wheel in the car.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a set of drums. Like, you want to just sit down and start doing this?
Oh
He's
wow!
like,
So just thrown
sure.
into it. Nice.
Yeah, and then like I was in this horror punk band for a long time called Captain Blood, and then
Okay.
after that it was what was it? I've been in a lot of bands. It was Captain Blood, Camp Kilroy, and then the Sin and Saints, and then it was the Drunken Cuddle after that.
I think that's when I met you with the Drunken
for
Cuddles.
a second. That was fun. It was only like a handful of shows, but like that was a lot of fun.
I would love to see that. I would love to watch that show. Like I wish
Dude,
there was a video.
yeah, you just bash him. Like it was so fun because like he's like loud as hell and
Yeah.
like,
Well, you're a very animated drummer too. You're.
Yeah, and and that's the whole thing too. It's like feeding off the energy. It's easier for me to get even more animated if the person's like super into it who I'm playing with, then I'm just gonna be even more into
absolutely.
it. And, fling
Cool.
my hair around and make scary faces at people.
That's what I just had a picture of. I go back and forth between a video of me with a picture of you and Jesse, and then I put just a screen with a picture of you with the hair in the face. So that's what.
Yeah.
Leslie Ann Lambert says, "Hi, Katie. Miss y'all so much."
Hi.
So. So, and you guys have thought about starting to do some like live shows, like a live stream kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're working on it. I mean, like I said, like we're fixing up this bathroom, and then once that's done, and seriously, it's almost ready. So once we're done with that, then like we're gonna really focus in on like making some videos, and
nice.
That's where I think I play ukulele too.
Yeah.
And so like I was gonna mess with the live stream with that myself, just like
Okay.
a really short one and only do like 3 or 4 songs.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in forever.
Sure.
But like I thought that'd be fun, or like try to teach playing spoons too, because that would be super cool.
Yeah, both of those are probably like, as far as getting the sound and the video right, is a lot easier than a full-on band,
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I'm seeing that's where like Jesse wants to work with some different techniques or whatever, but we're playing with it. We got some stuff in the works for sure. So we've just been so busy at home and getting stuff done that
Yeah.
It's been obviously it's been just like crazy, but we're doing the best we can. And like what have you been up to? I know you've been doing this podcast, which is rad.
Yeah, I started this because I was like, if I'm just gonna descend into madness, people might as well be able to watch, because like at first I thought I was like running a dog walking business. I left the burrito place like a couple years ago. So I'm just running a dog walking business. Everyone started canceling the dog walks. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be the end of me. But then the dog walks kind of like evened out, and I started delivering for the Anchor. Like once they became takeout delivery only. So I'm actually working more now than I was before this happened. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like the opposite experience from a lot of people. Maybe I don't know.
I know, and that's where like I was wondering. I mean, just how that's incredible. At least like, hey, you got the hours, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm more. This is more of a normal. Like I was living once I left the burrito place, like that until like the quarantine was kind of a weird part of my life where I was like, I work a lot of odd jobs. There's like some theaters around here that I'll do like event staff work for, and just like very this to that kind of, playing some shows with Red Necromancer. Now my life is a lot more normal than it has been, since I left the burrito place pretty much, which is kind of weird because it's like this weird end of the world catastrophe situation,
It's domesticated all of us.
I guess so. Well, that's what I mean. Lara and Matt just bought the house, and like I think they're happy too to not have to be out there playing every weekend, so they can be home and working on their garden or getting the stuff.
They got, like, the new house with the garden.
Yeah,
like it's a different take on life for a lot of us, but gotta look at the silver linings. That's for sure. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is nice to just not, because I think sometimes when you're playing, especially when you're playing music for a living, you're just going at it, and you have to, every weekend, or you have to take what you can get. Pretty much, a lot of times, it's nice to have a break from that a little bit, maybe.
I mean, I can't even tell you. Like, I mean, just not playing every weekend has been crazy, but having a distraction from that has been good.
So you don't necessarily like, you're enjoying the break from just the constant every weekend, here we go.
Yeah.
I
mean, like it does get like pretty depressing, honestly. Like sometimes just being like, man, like I would have been at this, like looking at my notes, because I book shows, like I'm the same as like Lara, like I'll book out like minimum like 3 or 4 months, and be on top of it.
Oh, so where where you would have been this upcoming weekend or whatever. You have all the notes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I had us booked like pretty much through August. There was just like a few dates missing basically in there, and
wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird, like sitting back and being like, huh. But then it is kind of nice to like not have like I don't know, it's been stressful in ways, but then like de-stressing in ways, because
absolutely.
like the constant booking like every day is like relentless, but
and just the pressure of like, oh, I don't have this weekend filled up that's only a month away now, or a month and a half away, like fucking what am I gonna do? Yeah, it's definitely a lot of pressure.
Well, I mean, like I'm looking forward to getting back to it, but
what do you guys do? Like, what's your process as far as like writing music? Does he just write stuff and bring it to you, or is there input? Like, how does that work?
Well, he usually just like runs it, because I feel like he's like channeling the music more often than not. So like it's kind of hard to explain, but like I guess like how he feels is like it transfers over.
Gotcha.
In a way.
Yeah.
And so like, I mean, I obviously need like a little instruction of like, okay, are we playing fast or slow? And then, I'm terrible with technical lingo on anything, and so I'm like,
well, sometimes it's better though. You just feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's just it. Is like after playing with him now for 3 years, that's it's so much easier, obviously, to play with him. But he typically just like writes it, and then he'll show me a few times, and I'll just roll out whatever I feel.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And it's usually you two and Max plays bass for you guys most of the time when you're playing live, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'd say that it's like half the time. Like he plays with us in like Lynchburg, but there are some traveling shows that like we go out of town for, where we just play as a duo.
Gotcha.
And it's like when we play with Max, it's like really like super raw, and just like the duo is
a little more refined.
I don't know, like it's a lot fuller, like in the aspect that I just get to like play louder.
Gotcha. Oh, so you have to like rein it in a little bit when you have the bass player?
Yeah, I mean, I can do like, well, Jesse likes to go off into like more solos and stuff like when Max is around, and then like when Max isn't, it's like he has to pick up the rhythm section as well, and
Gotcha.
then like I try to do some different things, but you
All
know,
right,
it's cool.
that's
It
awesome.
sounds a little different, but basically the same in ways, you know.
Nice.
It's fun.
What's up
Yeah.
with like? Have you guys done recordings? 'Cause I tried to find stuff on Spotify, and I found some dude.
Yeah, we don't have any recordings up. We are working towards that too. That's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm hoping this year.
That's
Like,
what I'm trying to
that would-
learn, like this home recording stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm such a fucking
We do have GarageBand. Like,
yeah.
That's what we like. I'd like to play with that for sure. Like, it's just a matter of learning how to use it. But I think I might end up actually splurging and getting like a laptop and all
Yeah.
that to try to.
I'm
do,
pretty
like, a
sure
little
Matt
more.
Goldpaw is using GarageBand now, and they're recording like this quarantine album, him and Lara, and I think he's
Yeah.
getting pretty good at it. So if you have any questions with GarageBand, I think Matt Goldpaw would be the guy to.
Matt Goldpaw. Yeah, I'll totally get a hold of him. I'll have Jesse talk to him immediately.
Yeah, that's what it's like. I don't know. It's like I feel like I'm entitled to know how to do all this recording stuff, even though I don't. So I'm annoyed at the fact that I have to watch these videos. And then there's a lot of
Just
times where there's something I want to
Yeah.
do, and I don't
Mhm.
know the term for it. So it's
Yeah.
like not trying to figure out what the term is for what I want to do is like even harder than like it makes it hard to search.
Yeah. Just don't start reading into the forums. It'll drive you insane.
Why? What goes
It's
on? Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much bullshit in them. I mean, like, well, I don't know. I did learn how to screen print from reading a bunch of forums.
Oh,
Well, so
yeah. Are they brutal?
Yeah, I can't talk that much crap on it. But yeah, we're gonna try to print up some new merch here and everything.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, what? Before all their shows got canceled too, I like decided to treat myself to a brand new double bass pedal.
Oh,
And,
fuck
like, a
yeah.
nice bag for it, and then like all of our shows were canceled, and it showed up like 2 weeks later. It was like, oh, that's fun. Like, haven't even used it yet, but I'm planning to like next weekend for sure.
Using
And
the
then
double
take
bass
the-
pedal?
Oh yeah, I'm stoked on it. It's that Iron Cobra one. And, like my other one was like I've been very very lucky to have like come across the people that I have through playing drums, because like I've been given so many things. Like I've been
Nice.
given cymbals, I've been given like or thrones, like pedals, all this stuff. Like basically everything except for my shells. And
Fuck
like
yeah.
I still have all of that stuff, but like my first double bass pedal finally was just like it's really janky.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I decided to, get a new one.
Jeremy, that I was
But-
just talking to, just commented and said, "Tell Katie to come record here. So if you ever want to come to New York and record, he'll throw down for you
That's
guys."
nice. Yeah, I know we were actually talking to him about that in the wedding in December. Our friend Sam and
Oh,
George
yeah.
got married
Yeah,
here, and
fuck
they were
yeah.
down for it.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a blast.
You
Yeah,
guys
really.
usually come up here to do Milltown in August, right? I'm guessing that's canceled, or
I don't know. I'm trying not to think it will be. But,
yeah.
I kind of think it will.
It is
But
outdoors and it is far from now, but yeah, who knows?
It is true. Like it's just I don't know. Like I gotta talk to Lance and Jess about that. Like we really miss them. And then yeah, like us coming up that way, that's like when we get to see you guys too.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like
Yeah.
that's always a very busy weekend for some reason. Like I feel like the last few years, like I don't think I haven't been to Milltown in a couple years, but I always have shows somewhere else. Like there might be some other festival that's the same weekend or something like that. But yeah,
Dude, I love Milltown. Like, I mean, going to see them, and then this next year was supposed to be like Bloodshot Bill too, which
Oh,
I
wow.
love Bloodshot Bill. And,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that it's just I hope it happens, but at the same time, I don't know
Yeah.
if it would make sense to, depending,
as far as Northeast festivals, I'm pretty sure Muddy Roots is still on. I don't think that's been canceled yet.
because I got a postcard from them saying that the tickets were able to be rolled over to next year or the year after even.
I think that's a thing. I think he did that, but I think it's ongoing. It's going. Like I think basically he's doing that because like you don't have to come if you're worried. But it's happening.
Okay.
You know, I'm pretty sure. Like the every email I've seen from him has been like it's it's on.
Are there like bands announced yet for it or anything?
I mean, I think there were most of the lineup was announced, but that was like much bigger bands before this happened. So I would imagine that they would pare most of that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it won't be. There's no. I would imagine he can't afford to pay. All the super big. I'm not even sure who was on the lineup this year, but he's been going in like a lot of that like stoner doom direction. Some of those bands are kind of bigger bands.
Yeah. I know. That was like last year when we went. We set up our camp like. Where we call it the Warp Tour stage, like the new stage on the very end.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
gigantic.
Yep.
We had our campsite like right near it, kind of like in front of it, I guess, or like facing it, I should say. And we were close enough but far enough back that we could just like chill at our campsite and like watch all the bands that were on it and like actually be able to see them. Like,
nice.
It was awesome. It was
That's
like one of the most relaxing muddy routes that I've ever had.
I didn't go last year, but the year before, we were camped in the trees, kind of like if you're looking at that stage up to the left, like on that hill there, so like you can wake up and you don't have the sun on you. And it was like Neurosis playing there, and I'm only like 200 yards away. They're fucking loud. Lying in my tent is pretty much the same, in my opinion, as being that like. There's a lot of that you can experience because you're just in a tent in kind of the fucking woods a little bit. Like,
I wish there was like portable trees.
Yeah. Well, that's the big problem with the camping spots. There is like you pick certain spots and your tent is 110 degrees at 7 a.m. As soon as that sun comes up, if you don't have some cover, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, that Eastern Tennessee morning sun.
Yeah. And it's I think last year I didn't go, but I think Stacey and Brandy went, and they were saying, how it always rains at some point, and like kind of, or you were there last year.
Yeah.
And I guess it just didn't rain, so it was just hot the whole fucking time, from what I heard.
Oh yeah, it was miserable.
Yeah.
But I mean, like we had the covers, or like the pop-up tents and all that. We did see Brandy and Lacey, or Stacey. I'm sorry, I was just tripping over my words. But we did see them for a little bit, and I know they weren't camped too far, but we really just kind of hung out at our campsite.
That's what I feel like. Half the time I'm there, I don't see half the people that I like. Oh, I'm gonna get to see all these people, and then half the time everyone's like doing their own shit. Everyone's on their own schedule. That it's like, even though you're there for 3 days, you don't really see as many people as you think that you're gonna see.
Yeah, you only get a few minutes of them each.
Yeah. And there's a lot of like.
I wanted to play Muddy Roots sometime. I mean, like that. I think Jesse would fit it very well.
You guys are crush. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, I'll keep applying for future ones.
I don't even think I saw an application for this year. Well, maybe now that there's like so many bands canceling because of quarantine, if you're willing to go down there, then
Yeah, I mean, I honestly haven't really like seen that much about it. I'm gonna have to do a little more research and dig into it, and that's one of those things though too. It's like we'll just have to see what it's like when it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I'm on their mailing list or something like that. So I think that's where I get stuff from.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I am too. I gotta dig through my emails.
Yeah. All right, Katie Carter. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I don't want to keep you too long
thanks,
here.
Kevin.
Yeah.
It was so nice to talk to you, and you are awesome, and keep this podcast up, and I fucking love you, man.
All right, love you too. Hopefully, we'll see you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Stay in touch, and I'll talk to you. I'll
send Jesse my regards.
Yeah, I will.
All right, love you.
All right, love you. Bye.
All right, there's Katie Carter, Katie Marie Carter, if you will. We got Lee from Mighton and the Night Blinders and Scrimmy the Dirtbag coming up. gonna play one of his songs. I'm gonna pee, and we're gonna play a Mike Did and Night Blinder song. That's what we'll go with here. What's up? I think this is going relatively smoothly so far. No, oh, here's that fucking god damn it. I'm getting some fuzz again. In case you didn't see before, we're just gonna do the Paul Flans Max Cavalera video again, just because it's my favorite thing.
What's up, Kevin Sharp, Max Cavalera here. Soulfly, Arizona, Quarantine Edition. Hope you're doing good, brother. I know you have a killer podcast called 15 Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. That sounds about right. That sounds metal as fuck. And I just wanted to congratulate you on a podcast. Keep playing metal, doing some cool interviews. And I got my fucking speed guitar right here right now. I'm going to do a little riff for your podcast, Kevin. Goes like this. That's actually Helmet. Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. 15 beers on a Tuesday afternoon. Fuck yeah! Stay metal, my brother. I'll see you on tour. Stay safe. Much love and respect. Max Cavalera. Soulfly.
I can't get over it. It's my favorite thing. Especially when I got some booze in me here. Paul Flans. Fuck yeah, dude. Awesome. Thank you so much. So I think next week we're going to do Riff Lords as our theme. We have Pat Harrington from Geezer, I think is going to be one of our guests. I'm trying to get John Bryan from Dead Empires. Hopefully it works out schedule-wise. I need one of those like Jenny Jones commercials. If you or someone you know may be a Riff Lord, have them contact 15 Beers on a Tuesday afternoon. All right, we're going to call Leviathan. I don't even, it's one of these Facebook things where I've met this dude a bunch of times, but I don't know if that's his real name or not. There's only one way to find out. He said he'd be ready in 5 minutes, but when was that? Was that now? I don't know. Fuck it. Oh, here we go with the fucking buzz again.
Hello.
Hey, bud.
Hold on. Let me figure out how this damn thing works. There we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
I think I can.
Okay, I can hear you.
All right. It's a weird, I think there's some, ghost of electronics trying to fuck my fucking world up here. I'm going directly, your phone is going directly into a, audio box that goes into the computer. But it's whenever I make a phone call, this, weird static electricity happens. And I think I can stop it with my hands like I'm some kind of fucking wizard, So I'm waving my fucking arms around like a fucking idiot. And I think eventually it just goes away. I'm not sure. There's probably a reason for it that I don't understand.
I've had that happen before, if you've ever left a cell phone or something on an amp.
Yes, it's exactly like that.
Weird ass shit. It's yeah.
It's exactly like that. I'm all frazzled. How are you living?
Holding steady, getting by. It's mostly in my house. I live in my house, and I don't really do anything.
And you're in New Hampshire, right?
Yes. I am in Manchester, which is I guess almost like a city.
Yeah, that's where the Shaskeen is, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from the Shaskeen on foot, and I am waiting for the day that they let me back in there.
So you're pretty close. How far is? I've stayed with Scrimmy a couple times. I don't know how far he is from the venue.
He's probably a little bit further than me, and we're pretty close together. Though we're on the same side of Manchester, on the west side.
Gotcha. And what do you do when you're not rocking the drums?
Right now, when I'm not rocking the drums, mostly I am either playing or listening to a lot of music, playing a lot of video games. That's been kind of my whole outlet right now. It's like records, go down like Spotify wormholes, or
Nice.
play hours of like Call of Duty or something awful.
Is that your video game niche? You go for like first person shooters?
I do, but I'm terrible at them. The thing is as much as I invest time into playing video games, I'm not good at them at all. It's just me getting my ass handed to me by 14-year-olds all day, which is it's humbling, but it's a fine distraction.
I'm sad with the direction that video games are going because of that. Like, you know, a lot of even the role playing games like Elder Scrolls Online. You know, I can't keep up with. You know, I'm an old dude. You know, trying to compete, and it's a young man's game.
Oh, very much so. There's no way I can do that now. It's like some days I'll just get a little nostalgic and I'll try to like creep on somewhere and try to find some old Nintendo games or Sega.
Oh, fuck yeah.
To play. And then it's like, okay, this is more my speed. It's got 3 buttons and a directional, and I'm good. I can handle that. Now we're getting into all these like, you know, several triggers on each side and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not really cut out for that, but I try. I put in a good effort. I can hold okay. Say if I wanted to play like GTA Online, I'm marginal with that.
Okay.
And any pro wrestling video game I'm pretty decent at, just because I don't know why. I think it's just my natural obsession for that.
Is it a button
sort of
mashing thing, or you just like certain combinations or holdover from game to game?
With the 2K series that had come out for WWE, a lot of their combinations and things and gameplay was very the same. So over a couple of years, I got really kind of adapt to it, and it's just kind of fun anyways, because I like to build matches in my head and do little weird things. So that's definitely right up my alley.
See, I was like, I don't know how old you are, but I was like a wrestling head, like, you know, 80s kind of shit with like King Kong Bundy and Kamala, that kind of era, you know, and I've kind of dropped off at some point. Like, I think I dropped off right around when The Undertaker came in, so I dropped off quite a while ago, you know?
Yeah.
And
that would have been about 92, I'd say.
Yeah, somewhere. That's like right around where this kind of like a grunge, you know, grunge hit, and I think wrestling, I don't know, I just... Kurt Cobain did, you know, wrestling. I was like a thrash metal kid in high school, and we were like the biggest fucking nerds there were, you know, with the denim jackets and whatever.
Oh, heck yeah.
But then, and we had a shitty band. We were fucking terrible. Like, I didn't even have cymbals for my drum set. You know, that's how fucking bad we were. But then, like, Nirvana came out, and we got very popular. Like, you know, like, late girls started talking to you. So I kind of, like, embraced that full on, you know. The grunge movement, I jumped right in on, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I loved a lot of that. I mean, starting with Nirvana. Nirvana turned me on to a bunch of stuff from, like, you know, Dinosaur Jr., Flicker, Mudhoney, and stuff like that. Like, that really went down a cool wormhole. Even at the same time, that probably was about the time, too, I might have started phasing out some wrestling. Because I go in and out with wrestling depending on how fruitful, I guess, the options are. Because I definitely have found a certain niche within like the more independent wrestling than say like, you know, Vince McMahon's billion-dollar conglomerate. it's just my natural punk rock imperative.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Want to go for the tiny shit, you know.
Didn't the WWF, which became the WWE, didn't they do something like towards the late 90s? They had like really like edgy, like the whole Stone Cold Austin era. Like I've read articles about that, and it made it seem cool. Like I wasn't there for it at the time, but it seemed like they were a little edgier kind of promo stuff going on then.
Yeah, and so a lot of that was really good, and a lot of that is like irreplaceable. But on the inverse, because it is WWE and because Vince McMahon is just naturally a shit human, there's a lot of stuff that does not translate well. Like, a lot of misogyny. There's a lot of homophobia.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of that stuff that, as I'm watching like full shows, because I'd rather just watch select matches now of that era just to avoid some of the garbage, because it really is unsettling, I guess. And I don't like, I don't get offended by a lot of stuff, but that kind of shit just really irks me. So.
Yeah. Well, which is weird because like as a kid, I remember like the Piper's Pit, and like to the point where we would go to like Grand Union when they had their little video rental section, and you would just rent the greatest Piper's Pit episodes, you know. And there's that the one where he starts hitting Jimmy Snuka with coconuts and shit. Like that's pretty like fucking raw, you know. Like I don't know. There was
and the thing I think about that is also like you have to sort of take into context a little bit the time frame for that.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
The 80s. Probably, I'm a little bit in the 70s. I'm a little bit. It goes over a little bit easier, but once you start getting into the 90s, that's when like really like progressive ideas started to bubble up, and like especially when Nirvana and stuff are going out there saying if you are like homophobic or you're racist and shit, we don't want you coming to our shows, like shit like that, and that kind of like definitely piqued my interest as just a human being that had been just shit on for who I was in general for like all of growing up. Those sort of statements resonate, and so I think like the wrestling stuff that still pushed those sort of edgy boundaries, or just like that sort of edgelord shit. It just gets on my nerves even today.
Well, that 90s, I think, was an interesting time, too, because I think, like, 80s, it was more edgy to be, like, I listened to fucking Joy Division, or I listened to The Cure was more edgy than being like, oh, you're wrong, your gays are weird, or whatever, Yeah. It was, like, more edgy to listen to The Cure than it was to be homophobic in, like, 1986. But by 1996, it would kind of, changed, and that's where a lot of people are like, oh, this PC culture is just killing free speech or whatever, treating human beings like they're equal is fucking just destroying my whole ability to speak to the world.
Oh, I know. It's just got to be like extreme macho, freaking, like just masculine everything. Like, go make me a sandwich.
They didn't have 4chan yet, so they didn't have any place to let out their inner,
Oh man, what a toxic hellhole that place is, man. I just
I think there are just certain people that are going to be, that are just trouble, Oh shit. My friend Paul Flange is posting a gift in the feed on Facebook here of Jimmy Snuka Roddy Piper hitting Jimmy Snuka with the coconut and the whole set coming down. It's fucking great.
Yeah, and I mean, in hindsight, Jimmy deserved it.
He was a murderer, was he not?
Yeah. I have no sympathy for him taking a couple of coconuts to the dome.
I mean, a bunch of those. I mean, I don't know. We didn't get a lot. It's very interesting because you're a Northeast dude too, right?
Yes.
So you didn't
Born and raised in New Hampshire.
You didn't get any of those like NWA. Like we'd get AWA on Saturdays, but like Ric Flair and all that shit, we would just get magazines. Like in the high school library is the only way we find out about that stuff.
Illustrated.
Exactly.
Stuff,
The Wrestler.
I think we got like. When my parents finally said that we could get cable, for a while we could get like World Class Championship Wrestling from Texas.
Oh, okay.
I think
that was like the Von Erichs and shit, right?
Yeah. And so that was neat stuff. I liked it. I just liked the grimy nature of the filming. It wasn't sparkly.
Yeah.
It almost looked like 10 years old, even though it was relatively recent material.
Yeah.
Just because of the technology wasn't as hip to say like what Vince McMahon was doing, or those, you know, the flashy companies that made all that money could turn it around in the production. I liked the sort of gritty style, the like the pall of like cigarette smoke that would just hang just slightly above the ring. Like all of that just looked cool, you know.
Have you ever been down to the Heavy Rebel Festival in Winston-Salem?
Oh man, not yet. We were invited, I believe, last year, and something went way south for us, and we weren't able to do it, and it really bummed us all out, because I've heard such awesome things about it, like in terms of just its overall presentation. It
is a lot of fun, but beyond that, just Scott, who is the partner, he runs the mud wrestling pit, make sure that the mud is all, you know, up to standards and cleans up afterwards.
Sifted through, no rocks.
Yeah, exactly. But he's like, you know, my age, 45, and he's from North Carolina. So he, like, for him, it was almost the reverse, where the NWA just ruled North Carolina. You know, Ric Flair was like the Hogan of there. And then, you know, eventually they got to see, for them, I think it was like, oh, all of a sudden this glitzy WWF stuff comes in. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Because these are our, you know. Whereas for us, that was like taboo to me. Like, you know, they had Abdullah the Butcher, Bruiser Brody. They used to have like all these weird characters that you'd only read about in the like Pro Wrestling Illustrated or whatever. It kind of made it cooler in a way, you know.
Yeah, and I mean they knew how to book it better. I mean, in those territory days, like with those places, they would have like feuds that would run for like a year.
Yeah.
Year and a half sometimes, and it would just all culminate in like one giant like bloodbath.
Yeah,
and it just like the crowd was just like rabid.
Yeah,
and I loved that style. It's like nowadays they can't tell a story that goes on for more than, you know, a few weeks, maybe a couple of months if you're lucky, and then they're right on to the next thing because people aren't. I don't know if it's like something with the attention span of individuals.
Yeah, you
these
think
days,
that's
now that YouTube's out there. But like having like really just drawn out feuds are spectacular, where maybe even the main protagonists don't even touch each other for like a 6-month period, you know.
Well, right here, Piper and Snuka, like I don't when that match happened, I think there was like was there a Bob Orton and Piper versus Andre and Snuka match? Is that what it accumulated in?
I think at one point there was. I'm gonna have to look up. I know I have an encyclopedia.
Where like Snuka jumps off Andre's shoulders instead of the top rope because they're higher than the top rope. You know?
Oh yeah, I do remember something along that line. I'm gonna have to now. You have me thinking about wrestling history.
I mean, we don't have that many people watching. Paul Fland's watching. I think Scott Allen was watching before. He might be more of a wrestling enthusiast than me. I don't know if he's still on, but I remember the Big John Studd Big John Studd Andre the Giant $15,000 slam match where Andre slams him and then throws the money to the crowd. Bobby Heenan was like fucking killer manager.
Flipped it out.
Yeah, that was great.
Bobby Heenan was one of the greatest characters of all time.
Yeah, he was very good because he got to be the commentator and he could do it so well while still being a commentator. He was like Fox News before Fox News. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the heel, but he was still, you know, like most of the other heels. Mr. Fuji couldn't have, you know, commentated on matches. You know, like I don't know. It was like the way he pulled it off. Like Freddie Blassie even was the bad guy manager before Heenan kind of. And he couldn't have commentated. He was like more, you know, his persona just like that sleazy.
Delivery was way more gruff too. Like when you are also doing a color commentary situation, you kind of want to speak with a relative clarity and you know, tone. Whereas Freddie Blassie, like to have him croak over something for like 2 hours might just injure your ears. Yeah.
Oh,
so what have you been up to, sir?
You know, I've been running my dog walking business. I'm doing deliveries for the Anchor, and I'm trying to figure out technology, and I'm bad at it. You know, like when this first started, I was just doing the dog walking, like the whole quarantine situation.
Yep.
So I was like, if I'm gonna descend into madness, I might as well do a Tuesday thing where people can watch me do that. You know.
I think it's great.
Yeah. But then things started getting normal as far as like, you know, I'm working more now than I was before the quarantine. So my life got kind of more normal. So then now this is just like, oh, let's get drunk on Tuesday and talk to people. I don't know. I canceled last week just because I think last week is like a week to listen. Like I don't think I have anything.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
That was certainly the case, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's still.
It might still absolutely.
It's my year to listen.
Absolutely, yeah, there is that. Like, I mean, I figure like we could talk about drums and wrestling and whatever, and it's, I don't know. I mean, I guess a distraction is maybe not the best thing to do, but I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I don't know. I can't even defend it, but
yeah,
it is
all about distractions.
It is interesting, like when just the whole idea of like defunding police is beautiful and amazing and fucking crazy, you know, in such a weird way. It's
scary to a lot of people because when you hear those two words together, what most individuals are thinking is a lot different than what would actually be occurring. And I think there's got to be a better way to, I don't know, say that, because all the media is just
of course,
it. Like it's a clickbait world we live in now, and so everything is like condensed down into stuff that really oftentimes is a bit out of context and gets people up in arms before they've actually even clicked on the article or the piece that they want to read about.
Well, I think a lot of the stuff, as far as like, you know, if the police are going to respond to homeless people by beating them and murdering them, then obviously that money, you know, you can take money away from the police to advocate for, to give to people that are not going to murder and, you know, brutalize homeless people. Like that just seems like common sense, but
really nice. I would be all about that. I mean, right now, even in Manchester, because of the COVID situation, quarantine, and all this, you know, our homeless shelters are overrun. There is now pretty much a city-sponsored tent city down by the river underneath some bridge, and it's monitored by the police 24 hours a day right now. They have like portable facilities like toilets and stuff, and what I'm noticing is it's not like a party.
Yeah,
it's very odd. We've got people with kids out there and shit, like trying to deal with this, and you know, these people are so vulnerable, and then we have, you know, cops murdering or harassing or otherwise doing, you know, nefarious things to people who are already super vulnerable.
Yeah.
And the, you know, the fact that my town has like so little resources diverted to such things like that. Yet, my police force owns a fucking tank.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
It's you know, I don't want this to delve into me going on a soapbox, but I mean, there are certainly better ways,
I think,
to be allocating money.
I'm on beer 6, 9. I'm on beer 10 here. But my dark, like, you know, when I was sitting around eating lunch today and I'm thinking about, okay, so you're going to defund police. So you just have all these, you know, people that were used to being in this like militant authority position of society, and you're just going to release them into the wild? Like, you almost can't do that. Like, in this zoo that is America, like you can't. I mean, there almost has to be like a plan for that. Otherwise, you're just releasing the UFC. That's it? All the fucking cops.
We should have a cop division. We should have a division of cops, basically untrained lunatics that just want to swing on other people.
And you can oh my, it's dark. There's a lot of fucking sick jokes to make about this. But it's seriously though, you have all these like hyper aggressive militant motherfucker. They certainly wouldn't get the fucking pensions they get from police unions. But what are you gonna do with all these cops? Like, either it's gonna be fucking not a good situation, in my opinion.
I mean, some cops used to be in bands. Maybe they could go back to playing in hardcore bands or something, you know?
Oh dear.
You get like a player for the Red Court is a cop here in town. So.
All right.
It's you know, weird, but that's an outlet.
Cop Rock. Yeah, all right. So we got the UFC Cop Division and we got Cop Rock. All right. That's it. You know, I remember like actually driving back from Heavy Rebel through like Midwestern, like middle of fucking nowhere, Virginia, I believe it was, and seeing a little side of the road "Making America Great" hat booth, and this is before Trump was elected, and just thinking, fuck, man. If I had no moral compass, this would be a great time to make money, you know? Because you can think of slogans to just get people riled up to buy all these shitty T-shirts, you know?
Oh man, I had to talk myself out of doing that actually because our great fearless leader, you know, the untouchable and unbesmirched Donald J. Trump likes to come to hang out here and have his little rallies
in New Hampshire.
Oh yeah, we got. I mean, once you hit north of the tolls, like it's fucking deliverance up there. So
New York State is New York State's very similar as well. You know, it's
And so I, you know, thought to myself, man, just think of all like the merch I could sell. Like I could design up some stuff and really just fleece these marks just left and right. Yeah. But I can't do that. I can't perpetuate the message.
It's not the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, I think our cop division, UFC, you know, if the police are going to get defunded, if that's what the people are going to do, maybe we can start a service. What would you call it? Like cops can call us, and we can give them like a psychological evaluation and a physical evaluation. We'll run them through an obstacle course, and this will be. We can show videos from this on YouTube, and then we'll decide. Like, okay, you can go to UFC. Oh no, you're too paunchy. You go to.
See, that's the thing is I wouldn't even worry about if they were good fighters or not, because I spend a lot of time watching a lot of trash on YouTube, and I find that they take a lot of untrained fight. Who is it? Barstool Sports or some garbage like that takes a lot of untrained fighters and throws them in a ring.
Okay.
I figured. It's not that hard. Get them to sign a waiver. Of course, they'll be compensated. Just not a whole bunch. I'm not going to sell $50 pay-per-views here, but
what are we going to be called?
Like somewhere.
I can see the Facebook ads that'll be targeted to ex-police. Will be like, "Are you an unemployed police officer? You know, you need to let aggression out and still need a paycheck. Call, and then we need a good snappy name for our business.
Extreme Pig Combat."
See, I don't know. I think you need something like you're
a little more patronizing.
More patronizing? Yeah, more patronizing.
Let's see.
Fucking what are I mean, you can do something with a sty. No.
Blue Line Athletics needs you.
Blue Line Athletics. Oh dear.
Because then it gives them the impression that they're athletes too. So it's really like,
yeah, there you go. Okay, that's selling it to them. And you could do this. You could do this thing where if they don't do well on the physical fitness obstacle course, then they can't be UFC fighters. Then we run them through the musical instrument obstacle course, and then they become a hardcore band. I don't know what the third thing after a hardcore band. I guess they would be security guards, but I guess if you're going to defund the police, security guards kind of become a different thing too, right?
Oh man, this is like American Ninja Murderer. It's like we're just going through a bunch of things that are just going to lead to like a domestic assault. That's all it is. Hardcore bands, freaking UFC fights. Like, here we come.
Well, 40% of them already beat their wives, so there's no. I mean,
it's
we're not.
40% are reported.
Okay, so we're not. No, more wives aren't being beaten. We're just giving them something to do instead of beating the wives.
Again, I'm thinking while they're out doing this and pummeling each other, the wives can make a healthy case for escape.
There you go.
A path of egress to safety and freedom. Maybe take the little bambinos with them too. Who knows?
There you go. I mean, well, maybe that's where our funds can go. Because I'm not looking to get rich off this. All our money can go. All the money we make off watching cops fight each other or try to start shitty hardcore bands goes to helping their wives escape from them.
We're investing it into the marginalized communities that they've otherwise disrupted for the last 50 years. Okay. I'd like to think that it's a non-profit. We could get paperwork drawn up for that tomorrow. Like,
what Blue Lives Athletics?
Like Buffalo, New York already, yeah.
BLA?
Blue Lives Athletics.
All right.
Blah.
Blah.
Because that's what those fights are going to look like. It's going to be two dudes getting gassed in freaking 45 seconds, and we get to just throw stuff at them. Because, it'll be low rent, so you can bring like quarters and things to throw. Because if you throw quarters, they're also getting paid additional.
Well, here's the thing. If the fight goes on too long, you can just throw in some tear gas. And see how,
Ooh, not bad.
Mix it up.
Disperse quick enough for me. Now, see, here's happening. Every time you're taking a sip of beer and I hear that aluminum can hit that table, I just keep picking up the bottle of whiskey that's been sitting at my
Oh,
feet.
Jesus.
So
all right.
The animation is happening, and I have a little coffee that I made earlier to chase it, so I can kind of.
All right. Well, I'm not here to get you too. I don't want to. I don't want to ruin your day, Lee.
Oh, my day was not that bad today. It was better than yesterday, where I ruined my day the day before by drinking myself into an oblivion.
Yeah, what happens? It's quarantine.
Things get ahead of you, especially when you're quarantined, and it's like, at this point, I'm pretty psychologically wrecked. I haven't played a gig in about 3 months. I haven't seen a gig in about 3 months. These things are pretty much integral to my existence and my sanity. So having them both kind of stripped away from me, real suddenly, it has not been all that helpful. And I have been compensating with a great deal of whiskey and things. So sometimes things get ahead of you, and this weekend was one of them. It was the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. We had some really good times and some bad times. And so Monday rolls around, and I was just a fucking zombie. So today is the first, I took Monday off from having drinks, which never happens.
All right.
That's how bad I was.
So are you New Hampshire shows? I know Tennessee and some shit are opening up already. Have you not had a practice or anything since this all started?
I haven't done any full band practices.
Yeah.
I will sit at home. I tried to get a practice rig set up for my house. I went on to the web and ordered a bunch of mesh heads and low volume cymbals. So I could have a drum kit in my apartment. And of course, within an hour, I get a call back from the sales rep being like, "That's all on back order," because everybody else has the same idea you do. And so I have a little practice pad, and I have a pair of drumsticks, so I can at least move my wrists and my fingers and keep some level of dexterity. And every now and again, me and Scrimmy will meet up, and I've been making he'll just turn on his little 4-track, and I'll make a beat. I'll just play a beat and try to keep it as steady as possible, and then he'll chop it up and send it to people. And so little lo-fi things like that have been happening. But yeah, there's been very little actual playing, to the point where right now I've almost thought about doing dumb shit like financing an electronic drum set.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because I'm just online, and there's oh man, look at that, would be so much fun. That looks way better than video games, because I'm actually not that terrible at it. So and I think it would I need something, but.
And what is something like that, a decent enough to play for a drummer that is used to being a working drummer? What's that run you? I mean,
the one I was looking at was certainly not the top of the line, but you're looking and spending $2,000 for something like that, and that's a shit ton of money that I really shouldn't be spending. I technically don't have it.
Yeah, and you could get for $2,000. That's a
I can get it financed.
A nice kit and some decent cymbals for
Oh yeah, that would be more than I've spent on my current working rig.
Yeah.
That's just me buying, and it's mostly in the module itself, the little head that functions.
Yeah, I gotcha.
All the other stuff, and because back in the day when you had electronic drum sets, because I tried a bunch out when I was a kid, it was there was always millisecond delays with your strikes. You couldn't do rolls. You couldn't
Gotcha.
It wasn't touch sensitive. Now all of these ones, you can reach up and choke your fake cymbal, and it will.
Oh
cut
wow,
off.
that's fucking
So it's
awesome.
just okay, now you're talking. This is more my speed, because. It jarring when you're trying to practice, and you just even a millisecond sort of delay from your strike to what you get out of it can throw you way off. And I'm not a technical drummer by any means, but that's still disruptive.
Yeah, That's what I'm trying to get into here. I have my drum set up in my house now, and I'm trying to get into recording so I can record loops or even just beats. I guess they don't have to be loops necessarily, and just send them to some of my old married friends who, like, we could never get together to play music, but now that this is happening, and I'm trying to, like, just send beats to someone, I can send them to, like, these friends of mine that are fucking killer guitar players that can't make practices. So maybe this, like, will give us an opportunity to make music where we couldn't before, you know?
Yeah, and that was another, like, almost encouraging thing behind, like, the electronic set, because even if I'm playing on an electronic kit, if I'm recording into, like, if I'm going through the interface into the computer, there is no ambient sound, so all you're getting is just straight
like the tap
drums.
tap, yeah.
And you won't have to, and, you know, nobody has to worry about any of, like, those odd things that happen if you're trying to, like, do a guerrilla recording session, say, in your apartment on a rather busy thoroughfare.
Yeah. Is that your situation? You live, like, with your neighbors are not having it?
Yeah, I mean, I live, it's like a 3-family. I got neighbors upstairs and downstairs. I'm on the second floor.
Yeah.
And all my neighbors are fine. I mean, my neighbors upstairs make a shit ton of noise, which doesn't bother me because I make a shit ton of noise. I'm still trying to figure it out if it bothers the people downstairs.
That's what.
But
I've lived in this duplex for like 8 years, and the neighbor's always out there with his fucking metal detector, like pretty early in the morning, which is like, you're not gonna. We have it's like 10 by 10 fucking yard. You're not gonna find anything, like you're not.
He just keeps running the same 10 by 10 area.
Exactly. And their kids are always yelling, so it's like. I've had the drum set here, but lately I've started playing it a little bit. Like between like 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Like that's where I gotta go.
Reasonable.
And they there was a day the other day I was walking out while they were out there like, oh, you got a new drum set. Well, it's not new, but it's new to you.
Yeah, I did that a few times in my apartment too, and actually it turns out the kid downstairs, like he's like probably 14 or 15, is learning how to play bass.
Oh, so fuck yeah.
I think everybody's kind of in agreement here.
Yeah.
That maybe a little bit of noise isn't the worst, because I came home one day and I felt a little boom and a little hum coming from downstairs. It's like somebody is hacking their way through Seven Nation Army right now.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's fun.
And I was like, this is cool. And so, it's at least I think there's some sort of acceptance because everybody in this building is a tad bit loud. And we're all kind of...
What's like the glass houses, throw stones thing?
Yeah, my big thing is, like, I don't care how much necessarily the neighbors upstairs get loud. I'm never going to, like, call the police or rat them out or anything like that. You kind of fuck with them in smaller ways. Like, I'll, like, go upstairs. If it's, like, 1:30 on a weeknight and they're still rolling, I'll kind of do the whole slam the door and run up the stairs real fast. And then they're all out on the porch, and I'll just be like, hey, you guys are being loud. Can I have a cigarette? And then they give me a cigarette. I say, thanks, guys, and I run away. And then within a half hour, that shit usually dies out. It's real nice, like, sort of diplomatic way, and it's also, I'm taxing them just a tad.
I'm sorry for the pause. I'm pissing in a jug, just, like, slightly off camera.
I was like, yeah, I was kind of hearing the water hitting plastic thing. I was like, are you filling up a water bottle? No, you are actually emptying out your thing.
I don't know.
Cool.
I should have. I wonder how on camera that was. I don't think.
I don't know.
I don't know. Take that, Zuckerberg.
Spend enough time in a van with people, that becomes regular sound, and sometimes, your bits and pieces are hanging out. That's life.
So before this happened, you were playing drums for Scrimmy and for the Night Blinders. What the fuck?
Wow, it sounds like all sorts of fun's happening over there.
I'm getting this weird, I don't know if you hear that on your end, but this like weird electric like shit going on.
There was some, like, it's almost, for me, it's like a scrape. It's like this weird...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know how, like, moving my phone is affecting it kind of like a theremin,
Yeah, probably in relation to where it is to your interface.
But not necessarily, well, all right, that's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're making improvements.
This is only episode 10. The problem with drinking 15 beers every time is that I learn things and then I forget them and then I learn them. The good thing is I can have guests on again and ask them the same questions, and I don't remember the answers, so it's okay, you know.
Comes through repetition. It's fine. You're not supposed to be expected to learn and or remember things right away, and when you add things like little erasers to your day, it's fine. But it's commendable, the effort that you've been putting in. I've definitely tuned in for a couple, and I think they're fun.
Well,
I
thanks.
mean, especially before you started working regularly again. The slow degradation was nice.
Yeah, there you go. So before the whole quarantine shit happened, you were playing with the Night Blinders and with Scrimmy, or were those your only two bands, or?
Up until July of last year, I was like juggling between 3 and 4 bands.
Okay.
And I was at the point of absolute madness.
Yeah.
Like I had like some sit-in gigs I would do, plus I was in a band called Donaher, who were like a pop punk band.
Okay.
But I don't know, being a 40-year-old dude in a band that sounds just like Weezer, talking about fucking high school holding hand shit.
And I bet if you're
not work for me.
If you're in a band that sounds like Weezer and you're also in a band with Scrimmy, I bet there's got to be some like blowback.
Yeah, I mean, not really. We played on some same bills together. There'd be nights when I'd be doing like 3 sets because every one of my fucking bands was on the bill.
So Scrimmy doesn't hate bands that sound like Weezer. He just hates Weezer themselves, or?
Yeah, he doesn't like Weezer, and I mean, I don't think he was the biggest fan of the music. I know he stands of each individual member of the band. He'll definitely, say that because I got to play with some really cool cats when I was in that band, and I really liked them.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't know. I can't see myself doing that as my hair is getting grayer. It's just, it's just not.
Old guy playing
working,
Weezer covers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. I guess.
Yeah.
But like now I've trimmed it down. It's exclusively Scrimmy and Mike, or should I say the Night Blinders? We removed the Mike.
Yeah, I saw that. I found that out when I looked for it. Mike and Night Blinders on Spotify. You find an episode of a podcast that you did, but then I then I remember the Night Blinders, and that's how I found your.
Yeah, we had to trim off the Miketon and because spelling Miketon every time you tell someone what your band name is frustrating, and I think it's certainly we wanted to give it the impression, which it is that we're an actual band. We all write together. Miketon and the Night Blinders indicates that Miketon. I mean, he mostly does write everything. I won't necessarily, but there is definite. It's not like he closes off input. It's he brings up something, and I'll be like, hey, tweak that a little bit. And if it works, it works, and he's more than happy to go with that. He's not a band leader. He's part of a band, and so we decided like over time that this was just a better move for us.
Yeah, and I think like Miketon just. Like searching a band, like Miketon in general, is very difficult to search. Like no one's gonna get that
it's
from
a weird thing to spell. Like who knows what Miketon actually could? It could be spelled like 4 different ways, and so I think that just and nobody knows what a Night Blinder is, so it's great because we've got this name. It sounds good, rolls off the tongue.
What is a Night Blinder?
I believe and I don't know if the statute of limitations is necessarily run out on this, but I think it involves something involving robbing people with a can of pepper spray.
Okay. All right.
I didn't do it. Neither did Miketon. Nobody in the Night Blinders
has ever participated in any criminal ability. Yeah.
But there might have been some stories kicking around, and so. I was like, Night Blinder just sounded good.
Yeah, no, it's
it
good.
Could be anything. It could be like wearing your sunglasses at night. It could be getting Hammertown, USA. It's open to interpretation.
I like it,
and it sounds good.
The last time that Miketon was here, I think him and Dwayne Mark were doing solo shows.
Yes.
And he was telling me about he'd gotten an opportunity to play a very large political rally. And he was like, did that end up happening?
No, we were all. I was okay. All of us, most of us, were all about it. There was
Okay.
one or two members that are like, it's not totally my bag, but I will do this because I know it means a lot to you guys.
Was
So
it
we
for
got
Biden?
everything.
No, was it a Bernie thing?
Yeah, it was a Bernie thing.
Oh, fuck. Then you don't need a fiddle or a bass for a Bernie thing. You guys fucking...
No, it wasn't the fiddle or the bass player that was the problem.
Oh, okay. All right.
But no, it was fine, and everybody agreed to do it. And it was, but they couldn't necessarily vet all of us completely.
Oh, gotcha.
And because there's a pretty significant vetting process,
Yeah.
especially when
You can't have like some white
candidate.
power band come up and be your fucking, because Fox News is just gonna jump on that
Yeah.
shit. Like, yeah.
And they're asking for information, like, so they can do like background checks on you and stuff. And I've got a bit of a spotty record. I don't think it would that would necessarily turn off Bernie, but I think maybe some other dudes have some spotty records too. I don't know because it's
fair.
not really that important. I don't need to know. They're good people as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, that unfortunately never came to pass. But at the same time, it's good and it's bad. It's bad because I really wanted to meet Bernie. I really wanted to just at least be like, oh, and how about that band?
Yeah.
Perfect. That would have just made my day.
Yeah, that
but
would
at the
be
same
great.
time, as a musician, being overtly involved in politics can be a little dicey, and especially if you don't really have room to lose people.
Yeah.
And so when we agreed to do it, we said to ourselves, okay, we're going to go to this rally and we're going to play it, but we're not going to tell anybody that we're playing this rally. So that way we're not advertised. The only people that are going to know that we played it were those who were there and maybe took a little video or whatever.
So
but we didn't want to
do you think that like a big part of your crowd is like a Trump crowd or like a Biden crowd, or like what do you think? Well, like what's the thought process on that?
I don't think I have a large, or we have a large following from the Trump crowd. The reason being is, although we are not overtly political, I am a fucking loudmouth.
Why?
And,
yes, I know.
And I kind of oftentimes will have messages either, on my clothing.
Everyone wants to
like
come
that,
fight you.
Yeah, everybody apparently wants to come fight me. As long as you are over 45 and live in New England, you want to fight me. I think that's just how that goes. But when I'm playing music, I try not to make it about stuff like that. I will have my little messages on my shirts and shit. But I go out there and I play, and I just want everybody to have a good time. And so, if somebody, say, from, something I don't necessarily agree with, comes to see our show, as much as sometimes it may bother me that they get something out of it if they're having a good time, I'm hoping that maybe what they got out of it could help them a little bit.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Maybe reevaluating some of the ways they feel about stuff, because I don't know, this kind of music, the music we play, we're definitely doing this because we love it, and we're definitely doing this because we have the best time, and we just kind of want to deliver that to others, and if we can, do that, then that's cool. But if somebody else, at one of my gigs, has got a little bit of a sideways idea about something, and maybe he sees
Learn
a
something,
button, or he sees a T-shirt or something, and maybe he thinks, I don't know, the music's really good, and they're talking about okay stuff. Maybe these weirdo lefties ain't so bad, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's just a little pieces.
It seems like the best way to like, because I think if you want things to progress, you need to like bring some people over at some point. I think, right? Or ideally, you will bring some people over. And that's a great way to do that. Like music or art is a great way to convey ideas to people in a non-confrontational,
Yeah, it's a universal language, but it also is, and unless, of course, we're talking about our cop rock hardcore bands, it is non-confrontational music. And a lot of what we do with the Night Blinders is not, we're never going to be like a confrontational band. We're not going to go out there and try to challenge our audience. We want them to have as good as a time as we are. Like, with like Scrimmy, we try to be a little confrontational.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scrimmy's always confrontational on stage, and that's something that I just appreciate more than anything, because I get, two different like sides of it. Yeah. And we can be a bit provocative in that band and push some envelopes. And I know, and even
he though, like he kind of like, I feel like he pushes things in a weird fourth direction. You know what I'm saying? It's like left, right, and he goes like north, or some shit like that. Like where he's not necessarily like agitating one side or the other. He's like agitating everybody, or
everyone. And that's my favorite part about like when he's doing it right.
Yeah, Scrimmy is fucking fantastic.
Get the whole audience, and he's got so much charisma doing that too. It's just like it comes naturally to him, and it impresses me when he can really hit it. And so, I mean, with that too, is like we get a lot more people like that are a little bit more rural and have very much different views than I do. And I still slip my little messages into the gigs and everything, but they're still right behind it. Yeah. And again, it helps. Like, maybe a tad bit of understanding while still presenting them with media that they would otherwise easily absorb.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the last time I personally saw you was at Lowell, Massachusetts. Is that where it was? It was like a Friday show. I think you played with Scrimmy, and we played
that
with
was at Thirsty First. Yeah, that was during the winter?
It was. I was walking around outside. It was nice. I can't remember when. I think it might have been. No, it might have been last like August or some shit like that.
Yeah, so
Fall,
then after
maybe.
I'd seen you at the car show, because that was somewhere around Memorial Day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So yeah, it would have been after that, and yeah.
And that was fun as shit.
That was a great time. I really enjoyed that. Everybody sounded wonderful, and there was no problems. Like anytime like you go out to a gig and there's no drama, no fights, no bullshit. That's the best thing in the world. And if people had a great time, excellent. Like I don't know, the pop factor is necessary for me.
See,
like,
that
I want people to have fun.
That was an interesting weekend for us because it was like we played the Gardner Ale House in Gardner, Massachusetts, I think the night before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like two people, me and our banjo player, $300 guarantee, free dinner, free drinks. A couple of the waitresses kind of watched a couple of our songs, but like it was basically playing 3 hours like to a fucking wall. It was like
it's great to get paid that much though, and to get all of that.
It is. And then Friday, I'm pretty sure that show Friday that we played with you, our band tab was for two people was more than we made from the door. But we like sold a shirt maybe to cover the, like we didn't go into the red necessarily, but
yeah. That's the thing too, is it's hard to maintain finances within the function of a band. I am so thankful. Like I can somehow balance like a day job and playing music.
And what is your day job like normally? What do you do?
I am like an office jockey, really.
Oh, okay.
I work for a company here in Manchester. I'm not going to get into dropping names or anything,
sure.
Just for safety's sake.
Yeah.
But it's mostly I do math. I do a lot of math. And I was never good at math in high school. I barely have a high school like diploma. I got it. It's not like a GED, but somehow like people trust me.
Like calculus math or like trigonometry math or like
analytical billing type math.
Okay.
Looking at either generating bills.
Okay. Fuck yeah.
Or reviewing them for errors and things like that. It's kind of almost like accounting, but without having to spend too much money in a college, and so it compensates me well enough for where I'm okay right now. I still have to go into work.
Yeah.
I still work every day.
Okay.
So I am.
But you're doing it from home, or
no? I go into the office because we also have to have somebody there who, like most everybody else does. I'm working in a big building pretty much by myself.
Oh wow!
And it's like because somebody's going to be there to receive the mail and do all this, like all the stuff that like normally functions on its own without anybody there, you know. So I'm just there. Everybody else works remotely, and I kind of just like, you know, occasionally Skype in with folks and stuff. But
I did merch, and I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off here.
No,
what were you gonna say?
I mean, at least I've got that. That offers like at least a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, there you go. I did merch for the Lara Hope tour with Brian Setzer, like playing these big theaters or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And our load-in was always like 3 or 4 in the afternoon or whatever. And it's like you're in a van with everyone. You stay in these rooms with everyone. You always got to take, you know, the tour shits kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
My favorite thing was these like 5,000 person theaters, shitting in them while no one else is there. Like, you know, you're in one of the like, you know, 11 or 15 stalls, but you know that nobody's coming. Like, you could keep the door open.
It's already been rolled over.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's the day. It's like everything's clean. No one's been there yet, and he can just like shit peacefully at this giant theater. You know, like it's, I don't know. That was one of my favorite experiences.
Oh, dude, that's great.
Like, it was like you could go to the green room where like you have your own private bathroom, but I liked better like kind of deflowering one of the.
Yeah, and you don't want to stink up the green room.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's those moments are pristine. Like I can think about. I remember once, and this is traveling back a ways. It was like somewhere around 2003, and I was at a festival in the like most northern tip of Maine, and I was going to see what I consider, and this is going to be a problem for a lot of people, the greatest American rock band going today, known as Phish.
Oh, boom.
Yeah, I dropped that. Well, aside from Cactus Attack, I mean, it's Phish and Cactus Attack as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
But I remember once, like, queuing up right when the gates opened to the concert grounds because I could run to the Porta Johns that had already been run.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fresh and so clean. So I get in there, and I've got a couple of days worth of peanut butter sandwiches in me here, and that needs to go. And I remember just Neil Young's Harvest Moon playing just ever so daintily.
Oh, nice, system. Yeah.
And it was just like, this is Zen for some strange reason.
This is what it is, yeah.
But I think it is that sort of like, I'm going to trash this bathroom, and I'm going to be the first person to trash this bathroom today.
You're like Neil Armstrong or Columbus, you know?
Heck yeah, discovering new unfettered land of pooping places.
Woof. All right, man. Well, I'm fucking petering out here. You're not. I could talk to you probably all fucking night, but
I tend to once I get going on a good thing, I can
keep doing it. I mean, I actually have another beer. I don't know. Let's keep going. What's our next?
I mean, yeah. What beer are you on right now?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm on 13. So I guess, you know, if we want to keep it going for 2 more beers, let's fucking chat.
We kind of have to go through 2 more. I mean, it is the name of the show, and I would like to think that we live.
So what are we going to go to? We want to go to music that we like that's not Phish. Do we want to go to our Blue Lives?
I can talk about
Blue Lives. What was it called again? Blue Lives.
Oh, Blue Live Athletics.
Blue Live Athletics for all the out-of-work cops when police get defunded. We're gonna run them through an obstacle. We're gonna run them through an obstacle course, and here's the thing: they have to pay us to show up to it. It's a pay to play. We're going pay to play with cops.
I mean, entry fees, yes.
Yeah, entry fees, of course, yes.
Yeah, there's always entry fees. But at the same time,
honestly, I think we might. I didn't think we should make them sell tickets, but maybe I think we should make them sell tickets.
I'm never doing a pay to play.
Oh, but not for cops. Come on.
And even for the cops, you know what? Pay to play, I think, is one of the most like exploitive and shittiest things.
It is, of course, yes. For artists,
an entry fee is like a good cover. It's like if you're going to if you're a comedian signing up for some fucking shitty comic.
So defunded cops they'll be allowed to pay an entry fee, and then we'll give them a psychological evaluation, and then we run them through an obstacle course. If
man, like one is going to be American Gladiators. Like,
okay.
Total, like, we're gonna have an American Gladiators obstacle course.
Okay, if you lose, okay,
the Eliminator at the end.
If you lose the obstacle course though, then what is your job? Where do we put you then? Or do you become like a security guard?
Point, at that point, we'd first get you then through the band obstacle. Because you could be like,
oh, you could fuck the obstacle course and then just be a killer like singer for a hardcore band. Like, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
All right. Are we gonna police when they put out their hardcore stuff? Or are we gonna police their content? Like, are we?
If we are sponsoring it, or if we have any involvement,
because it's gonna be like pretty fucking bad, probably. If you defund the police, these people have no jobs, and their opinions about not having jobs are not gonna be vocally, positive. They're gonna be. You could imagine.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't know if we necessarily want to make any more Screwdriver records.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be worse. Yeah. Can you imagine defunded
Kevin,
police that were like?
Told me that.
What's that?
You never told me about this possibility at first.
Well, defunded police that are not physically fit enough to fight in the UFC, but are forced to become a hardcore band They're gonna make really aggressive fucking anti-pause. Yeah. Is that what is it?
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember the first UFC matches though? I mean, if you look at some of those crown bombs that came out in UFC like 1 through 7, come on, we can still have a place for them. Even they could be ring dudes. We'll put like a bikini on them or something. Let them trot around like a card.
I used to be in charge of fucking Fort Wayne, Indiana. Now I'm wearing a fucking bikini carrying a Ring 2 card.
Yeah, that's called humbling. Yeah. Once you start humbling them, that's when things change. Because that's the thing is like there's a level of egotism there that's not going to die unless you truly humble a human being.
You're absolutely right. All right. What's your favorite story from playing with Scrimmy?
Oh, what's my favorite story from playing with Scrimmy? Most of them I don't remember. But I think my ultimate favorite, because, we had it coming. This lady definitely deserved to heckle us. Because we were doing a gig in Salem, Massachusetts, and I hear the pee bucket again. I was trying to be discreet. Yeah, well, you gotta find a mute button for that bad boy. But I was in Salem, Massachusetts with Scrimmy, and our guitar player bailed. We had to find a replacement bass player. At least we found that ahead of time. And then, this was before Scrimmy decided to stop drinking. He was a little bit under stress, so he got Hammertown, USA. Seeing how we were under that stress, I got Hammertown, USA too. And we played one of the worst gigs we could have possibly made, but the most shining moment was this woman was heckling us. And she was heckling us real bad. And, we kind of deserved it. But Scrimmy was not really having it and kind of just found a way to sort of jab. And it wasn't direct punches or direct verbal punches or anything. It was almost sort of just kind of tongue-in-cheek implied towards that direction. And he got that lady so good. He drove her up a wall so bad that she left, a $15 cover show, didn't go get to see Scissor Fight. She just fucking was fuck you, and left. Wow. And we were the first band on. And I was like, that's power.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some times, too, and, we've played and, we've all, taken our clothes off and shit and done stuff like that. But I remember just the absolute, reaction of this person. And I thought, wow, Scrimmy, you're really good at this. Because he didn't say anything terribly, offensive. There was nothing that was untoward about his what he, said. It's just the way he said it and kind of, I wish I could have remembered the quote because it was really good. And
he's got a way about him. that magnificent
He's one
bastard.
Of my favorite people in the universe. When we first met, gosh, it must have been over 10 years ago now. Like, I always thought that he kind of thought I was just kind of like some kind of old man crumb bum, because at the time I was playing in like a blues band, like not a terribly good blues band, just your typical New Hampshire like white kid blues band, doing whatever you can to make some money. And he came to see us once, and I remember he sat there for about a good 45 minutes. Then he took off, and I didn't see him for like months after that. And then all of a sudden he started to just pop up places. And slowly we became very, very acquainted and very good friends. And like, I will sing Scrimmy's praises to anyone who will listen, because he changed the face of like the Manchester music scene when he moved here.
Yeah.
Like, he created a place where not only bands from this area could play, but bands from this area could mix in with bands from out of the area coming through on tour, and it created this environment and this scene that up until him coming here did not exist. Like, I grew up going to like shitty VFW like hardcore shows and stuff like that all eventually got stopped because there was a great deal of violence. A lot of it was associated with some shit.
Well, a lot of that East Coast, like not even East Coast, but like Boston area hardcore or punk rock was super violent, right?
Oh yeah, it was super violent, and then they turned into crews. Like, they had that gang shit going on, and I mean, I'm never a big fan of like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you'd be crazy to be.
Ruins a good time.
I remember 1993 or 4. Two of my best friends that I ever met. I transferred to. I moved to New Paltz in New York, and went to the record store and found a flyer. Drummer wanted Mudhoney, Fugazi, Rancid.
Cool.
And I was like, fuck yeah. And those are my friends Ian and Tom. My friend Tom actually lives in Keene now. They had met each other in Lyndonville. They went to school up there in Vermont. But they introduced me to so much. Sir. They introduced me to so much fucking music, and we used to cover American Night by the Bruisers. And it was like, I didn't even know what that meant. And we did this fucking Halloween party where I think I did a mohawk, but my friend Ian had a shave. He had short hair to begin with, so he shaved his head and put on suspenders. And we did American Night. So after that, all these dudes are coming up to him like, "Yeah, brother, we know what you mean." And he's like, "Wait, what? No."
No.
So, and we just didn't even understand what we were dipping our toe into with like some of the, And the Bruisers are fucking amazing, but like
I played some Bruisers songs. I was in this for their reunion, quote unquote, tour, like this band $5 Bucks, which was like a ska band in New Hampshire that was relatively regionally famous. And we would do These Boots by the Bruisers.
Oh, okay, nice.
And then I was in a band called To the Gallows for a while, which had the Reverend Todd Seeley in that, and he had played with the Bruisers for a bit too. And so I have like a bit of like degrees of separation from them.
Well, that's what my friend Tom from Lewiston, Auburn, Maine, he would talk about, like fucking Keith Richards, like buying them beer, but then insisting that he come to the basement and drink half of it with them. Like he was like the older dude that would get, like, "Oh, can you buy us a case of beer?" Yeah, but it's $40 instead of 20, and I'm gonna drink 12 of them in your basement with you. And like that being Keith Richards from the fucking Bruisers, which is fucking weird. I don't know.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Because every time I fought booze for minors when I was like growing up, I always got caught.
Oh shit! Yeah.
I have so many I think prohibited sales is the charge in New Hampshire. I've got a few of those. Granted, they're only violations. They're dumb.
Okay.
But it was like bad. All my stupid punk rock friends and shit were all partying. I'm like, yeah, I'll bring the liquor and the beer. Fuck it.
See, for me, it was like I remember sitting in front of gas stations, like, okay, look for the grubbiest dude. All right, man. Excuse me, sir. Please, can you like just fucking buy us beer? And it'd always be like 12-pack of Meisterbrow would cost $35 or some shit like this, you know, and they drink 2 of them before they would fucking leave. Like, it was always the shittiest fucking deal. And I was always like, I'm going to buy beer for underage people every time they ask once I'm overage. And then once I got overage, I'm like, I don't want to deal with cops. Get away from me.
See, that's the thing, too, is you can get, like,
I sold out. Yeah, I sold out.
Even if you don't buy it. Like, it's happened to me on 2 occasions where I've had prohibited sales charges on me because I was just at a party where there was underage kids.
Oh, wow.
It didn't matter. Didn't even matter whether I was like, you know, I didn't check IDs when I walked into the door of this freaking, you know, ramshackle party.
Yeah, exactly.
And the cops are just like, oh, you're such a criminal. And I was like, I don't know about that. Yeah. But I know I've never killed anyone. Thank you, officer.
I mean, most cops haven't killed someone.
Most haven't, and I mean, I know a few that haven't. I mean, I know some citizens that have murdered people. I mean, not necessarily murdered, but killed people, you know, either in the service or what have you. I know people that have that shit hanging on their conscience, and most of them are good people that don't handle that shit so well. But, you know, I don't know. Sometimes cops use that as a badge of honor. I'm surprised they're not fucking tattooing teardrops on their faces at this point.
It is, like, the doubling down, I think, is either one of the best things or, like, I don't know if you saw the Minneapolis, like, police union representative. But he doubled down. He's like, I've been involved in 3 shootings. I don't give a, you know, like, it doesn't affect me at all. Like,
I think that's where, like, a lot of that resonated, like,
that's where change is going to come from. Listening to a motherfucker like that, like, this guy's out of his fucking gourd, man. Like, you know, this is not normal things that the majority of people can agree with, you know.
Yeah, and I've watched, like, some of these you know, shootings or these altercations involving police and, like, citizens, and, you know, they'd shoot them and they'd almost, like, give, like, one of those Howard Dean yells, like they just fucking, you know, came on something. Like, I was just like, what in the actual fuck? Like, I've seen where, you know, officers have had to use lethal force, and then they're, like, sad about it. But the majority of them are treating it like they're playing fucking duck hunt.
It is fucking bananas, and the policed, the, like, aggressive, we deserve to act like this mentality is, like, fucking. Where does
I stopped like believing in anything good with law enforcement when I was watching resource officers at my high school body slam kids like a third their size. So it stopped for me. And we weren't a tough, like, inner city school. You're dealing at this point with a bunch of, like, fucking preppy, like, loudmouths from, like, Bedford or some shit, which is like this, like, rich suburban town a few miles over. And they got bussed in, and they would just manhandle those kids too. I was just like, this is not right. This is a school, and you're militarizing it. So that's, like, you know, where the slow degradation of my appreciation for any sort of authority started happening.
I mean, it's a crazy.
What's that? 14?
I think this is 15. I also have some cool. Evan Williams out here too, but
I have some Evan Williams in my hand right now.
We'll close it out on a strong note, you know.
Yeah, we absolutely will.
I mean, I think
something a little less depressing though.
Well, I mean, depending on who you are, cop variety show, my Paul Flan said, you know, I don't know, the Blue Lives thing, I don't know, that could be interesting.
I think that'd be fucking amazing. And we just have to tailor it right. It needs a lot of tweaking because obviously we can't just blindly.
You and me as the commentators, and okay, we can just set this out straight off. You can be like, okay, we can go either way. I
don't know if I want to be the comment. You should be a commentator. We should also get somebody who's really into combat sports to commentate. I would rather be the ring announcer to be perfectly honest.
All right. And now, from the disgraced unit in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Welcome.
14 violations for, you know, yeah, exactly. Like, fucking, yeah, do that shit.
In this corner, weighing in at 242 pounds, he has got 75 assault claims against him. According to the Manchester
That's
Post.
not funny.
And,
That's certainly not funny.
it's not funny, but
it's well,
it would be perfect because
turning it into some
just...
Mad Max fucking let them fight themselves, you know. Yeah, it's fucking dark.
Fuck, I'll even electrify the goddamn cage. Let's make this scene interesting, you know? Like a light charge, like it's a taser, you know?
Do we allow ex-prison guards to become involved?
Oh, absolutely, they're complicit.
Uh-huh.
All sorts of correctional officers.
As soon as
obviously,
you know,
we're going to have to shut down a lot of these private prisons that basically just exploit people from not shit. I'm getting on that thing, Kevin.
I like because what I'm interested in is what's gonna happen to these fucking dudes once this is over. Like, where are they gonna go? It's like you're just throwing all these fucking, you know, like.
Bars still need bouncers too. I mean, the lowest.
Is this?
Of the low,
but no, you don't want a fucking ex-prison guard bouncer. No, anyone that runs a decent bar doesn't want a fucking ex-prison guard bouncer, because anyone that runs a decent bar knows that.
Bar. They all take ex-cops and prison guards and shit. I don't know anyone who runs a decent bar. I mean, I do, but they know what sort of help works.
Yeah, fair enough.
And that's the kind of a slight on the places I hang out, because I really like those guys. They're not that bad.
Yeah, it is what it is, you know.
I shouldn't say things like that.
Like, you know, I think people to an extent are people. So like a cop is a cop, but you decided to be complicit in certain things. And maybe depending on your career, you haven't been complicit in as many things as I think that you have. Or whatever, you know, like I don't understand a lot of that, you know.
Yeah, well, you dehumanize yourself once you get into that culture, too. It's like you are no longer a civilian. You're part of this thing. And it's like, it's... The divide is incredible. Like, I heard a lot of stories. I've had a lot of personal experiences.
And it is like a fraternity or a club or a cult. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, like, for me to just be like... police are one person, you know. I'm dehumanizing them, like or senators or whatever. Like Mitch McConnell is a fucking person, you know. He's
a
like
terrible person.
you know exactly, but he is just like Trump is a fucking human being, the same as you and me are. Like
I don't think so. I don't actually think he's a human being.
He is
that
though.
guy
like
is some sort of robot. He's just some sort of automaton.
It's like somehow he does things that are unfathomable to you, but he's still a human being, and this is what human beings are capable of. Like, it's not, you know, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, humans are capable of terrible things. Honestly, we've got a lot of issues overall, but I believe inherently in the good of everybody. And you know what? As much as I say fuck all cops and fuck, you know, all these like conservative and right-wing people, like I say this all the time loudly and proudly because I think it should be said because it makes people uncomfortable. But I have friends that are conservatives. I have friends that actually I don't have any friends that are cops who we fucking kidding. But I've talked to a cop once or twice and it didn't lead to me getting arrested. So I guess maybe there's like a scintilla of good police. But if they were really that good, they wouldn't be cops in the first place. So quit now and then be cool. That's all I want to say. Quit your job as a cop if you're a cop, because then you'll be the coolest. You'll be like, yeah, I quit, but that shit is bullshit. It's like saying no to Scientology or the Catholic Church.
Getting out of a fucking cult. Getting out of a fucking cult.
But in the meantime, I mean, have you heard? Okay, I heard this record the other day, and I just want to say this because it made me so happy. And it's by a band called Thou, and it just came out. And it's I think it's called Blessings of the Highest Order, and it's basically all sludgy stoner versions of Nirvana songs, and it just makes me so fucking happy. Yeah.
Thou, THOUH.
No, THOU. That's it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Are they on Spotify?
Yeah, they are. I just want to say that's a thing you should listen to because we had talked about Nirvana earlier. And
well, I mean, I'm about to open
Not super the
16.
highest order, yeah.
I'm about to open 16. It looks like
Jesus.
the video is not playing on Facebook anymore, but I'll put it up on YouTube, so whatever, fuck it. But
We'll live.
we'll live. I'm about to finish 15 and do a fucking swig of Evan Williams.
I will join you with a nice swig of Evan Williams to finish this off, because I do have to make some sort of dinner. My wife, I think, is probably going to start giving me like the knife eyes soon.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. You can't just talk on the phone to some fucking drunk guy all night.
I mean, I can.
But,
I have for a good one. But this has been a really nice time, Evan. I needed this.
Dude, I love the shit out of you. You're entertaining. It's funny, when I texted you, my last text to you was when the giraffes were playing at the Anchor as part of O Positive. I was like, you need to get the fuck over here, because they were so much better than I expected them to be.
So good. Like I have a little, it's like almost a minute clip from that show on my Instagram that I will still go back and watch to this day, because that was so much fun. Like, that band was spectacular.
Yeah, they were fucking really good.
And the energy in that room was just excellent. Like, the audience was kind of batshit too, and that made me real happy.
O Positive's a really good time.
O Positive Fest, like that. I'll drink to that. Like, O Positive Fest, having that opportunity to do that with the Night Blinders this past year, was it?
Yeah.
Was killer. Like, I felt like king of the world that day to be able to participate in that. In the things that were available to artists and participants. Like, it's such an incredible festival. It's like nothing I've ever been to.
All right. Well, cheers to you, big boy.
Cheers to you as well. Thank you so much for including me on this wonderful slide into soapbox radicalism. And
we'll talk privately about the Blue Lives fucking
athletics. Oh, for sure. This has to be ironed out perfectly, because I bet if we find somebody with questionable morals and a bunch of money, they'll be a little closer.
We don't have to be the Vince McMahons or the whatever. We'll be the just the think tank behind it.
We're gonna ride that line between Vince McMahon's complete amoral bad ideas and altruism and philanthropy.
Yeah.
It's gonna be real hard, but I think with the right brains we can make that happen.
I think we can, Lee.
All
right. Love you, brother. And what is it called? Thou THOU.
Yeah.
THOU. I'm gonna play it on the outro. We can do it while you're still on the phone if you want. I don't give a fuck. Here we go.
I gotta run and start cooking.